My father stood with one hand braced on the dining table and lifted his iced tea toward my brother. "To Ryan," he said, "the one who stayed." The room quieted in that eager way people do when they sense a toast coming and want credit for listening. Ryan lowered his chin. It was a good chin for receiving praise, square, lightly stubbled, practiced at looking humbled by things he had not refused. Dad glanced at me. "Your brother put his life on hold while you were deployed. This family owes him more than we can say." My fork stopped halfway through the potato salad. I had been home 7 hours. "I called every day," I said. Dad's left hand, the weak one, curled against his stomach. "Calls aren't the same as being here, Leah." Across from me, Tessa Alvarez set down his pill cup so hard the tablets jumped. Ryan reached over and steadied it. "Easy." Tessa didn't look at him. She looked at me. I knew that look. It was the look of someone standing beside a loaded pallet after another person swore it had been inspected. She remembered. The question was why my father needed her not to. Aunt Paula cleared her throat and raised her sweet tea. "To family." "To Ryan," Dad corrected. There were 11 people squeezed around a table built for 6. Folding chairs had been borrowed from the Methodist church, though Dad had not attended since my mother's funeral. The air conditioner rattled without producing much air. Somebody's elbow kept knocking the plastic cover over the butter dish. I put my fork down. Ryan smiled at me from beside Dad. "He's had half a beer." "I had 4 ounces, Dad said. Tessa measured it like cough syrup. "Because you take a blood thinner," Tessa said, a detail that has ruined beer. People laughed, relieved. Dad had always been good at opening a window after setting a room on fire. He lowered himself into his chair, moving carefully without admitting he was moving carefully. Tessa slid a hand near his elbow but didn't touch him. She knew better. Dad would accept help if it could be disguised as furniture. My cousin Mark asked me something about Kuwait. He said it too loudly, the way people did when they were unsure whether military service caused hearing loss. How hot did it get over there? Hot enough to make Ohio feel charming. That hot, huh? Criminally hot. More laughter. I smiled when the room expected it. I had chosen the chair at the end of the table with the wall behind me. Nobody had commented on that. They had commented on my shorter hair, my boots, and the fact that I was thinner, as though deployment were a spa with rifles. Ryan had put together the dinner. He had smoked pork shoulder in Dad's driveway and posted a picture of it online before I arrived. "Welcome home, SIS," he had written, with 3 flag emojis and a photograph where my face did not appear. He was wearing a clean Mercer landscaping polo, the forest green one he saved for estimates. There was sauce on his cuff. Dad had sauce at the corner of his mouth, too, and I watched it stay there while Ryan told Uncle Dennis how many nights he had spent sleeping with one ear open. Tessa finally wiped Dad's mouth with a napkin. Ryan never noticed. "So what happens now?" Aunt Paula asked me. "I go back to work in a couple weeks. At the base? My civilian job. I manage warehouse operations for a medical supplier." She blinked. "I thought you were full-time Army, National Guard. But they sent you overseas. That is one of the places the Guard can go. I never understand how any of that works. Most days, neither do we." Dad frowned at me. He did not like jokes that made the military sound disorganized. He had never served, but he preferred it majestic. "She was in logistics," he told Paula, "kept everything running." The pride in his voice was real. That was the part that hurt. He could tell a room I kept an operation running on the other side of the world. He just couldn't admit I had kept him running from there, too. Tessa reached for his pill cup. Dad covered it with his palm. "After dinner." "Frank, food first. You ate." "I'm still eating. You've been pushing one green bean around for 5 minutes. It knows what it did." That got the biggest laugh of the night. Even Tessa smiled. Dad grinned, pleased with himself, and for half a second I saw him before the stroke, standing at the hardware store counter in his red vest, telling customers they could buy the cheap drill if they only wanted to make one hole. Then his smile slipped. His left shoulder had begun to sag with fatigue. I saw it. Tessa saw it. Ryan was explaining the difference between commercial and residential mowers. I checked the clock over the doorway. 7:23. Dad's evening pills were supposed to be taken at 7 with food. Tessa's right, I said. Take them. Dad turned his head toward me. You home one day and already giving orders. I've been giving you that order for 8 months. Something moved across his face, there and gone. Ryan picked up the cup. Come on, old man. Dad took the pills from him. That was how it worked in our family. I said the thing. Ryan repeated it. Dad heard Ryan. I drank water and looked toward the kitchen, where a stack of foil pans crowded the counter. Neighbors had brought food after Dad's stroke, and apparently they were still bringing it 10 months later. People liked casseroles because casseroles ended. You baked one, delivered it, and returned to your life knowing the suffering had been placed in a disposable aluminum tray. The first few weeks after Dad came home from rehabilitation, I had done the same thing from 4,700 miles away. I built charts, I made lists, I scheduled medication deliveries and physical therapy. I found Tessa through an agency after Dad fired the first caregiver for calling him sweetie. Tessa's first report to me had been blunt. Your father is stubborn, she wrote. I wrote back, yes, he is also funny. Unfortunately, yes. I think we can work together. She meant Dad, but she and I had worked together too. Her mornings ended at 1. The agency thought they ended at 1. Most days, I paid her privately to stay until 5 because Ryan had a crew to manage and because Dad did not like strangers rotating through the house. Ryan had promised to cover evenings. The promise had sounded reasonable from Kuwait. Most bad plans did at a distance. Cake, Ryan announced. He rose and collected plates before anyone had finished. Tessa put a hand on Dad's forearm. You've had enough excitement. It's cake, not cocaine. You're tired. I've been tired since Nixon. Ryan carried in a sheet cake with an American flag piped across the top. My name was misspelled. Welcome home, Leah. I stared at the extra L. Ryan followed my eyes. Bakery did that. You picked it up. I didn't proofread the cake. You proofread estimates? Not if they're delicious. That was Ryan. He could turn negligence into a personality trait before you got a clean grip on it. He cut Dad a corner piece despite Tessa saying, small, and slid me the piece with WEL on it. Got you the important part, he said. Which is? The frosting. The second L? That's for love. People laughed again. I did too, because he was funny. That was another inconvenient truth. Ryan could make me laugh while stealing my chair. After cake, the guests began leaving in a confusion of hugs and foil. Uncle Dennis squeezed the back of my neck and told me he was proud of me. Paula asked whether women slept in separate barracks, then said, never mind, you don't have to tell me, as though she had narrowly avoided requesting classified information. Mark shook Ryan's hand. You did good by your dad. Ryan looked down. Anybody would have. No, I thought. Anybody hadn't. The front door banged shut behind them. My body tightened before I could stop it. Ryan noticed and pretended not to, which I appreciated more than I wanted to. Dad tried to stand. His right leg pushed. His left did not get the message. The chair scraped backward, and 3 of us moved at once. I've got it, he snapped. We froze. He planted his palm on the table and tried again. This time he rose. His face had gone red with effort, but he looked at Ryan. Walk me back? Yeah, course. Ryan put an arm around Dad's waist. It was too high and too loose. Tessa opened her mouth, then shut it. They made it through the hallway with Dad's left foot dragging slightly over the rug. He's tired, I said. He's furious, Tessa replied. Same symptoms. That earned a breath of laughter, but her eyes stayed on the hallway. In the kitchen, I began fitting lids onto bowls. I needed a task. Tessa joined me, wrapping the pork in foil with crisp, angry folds. You didn't know about the dinner? She asked. I knew about dinner. I didn't know we were giving out medals. Her hands stopped. Leah, I'm fine. You look fine. Thank you. That was not a compliment. From the back of the house came the muffled sound of Dad rejecting help. A bathroom cabinet shut. Ryan said something low and soothing. Tessa pressed both palms against the counter. She was in her early 50s, compact and strong, with silver beginning at her temples. Her scrubs had tiny yellow suns on them. Dad claimed they made him feel like he was being treated by a kindergarten teacher, but I had seen 3 different pictures where he was wearing the same pattern on a tie. What he said at the table wasn't true, she said. I slid the potato salad into the refrigerator. He believes it. He knows better. Does he? Yes. There was no hesitation. I closed the refrigerator and faced her. Tessa lowered her voice. I was here for the calls. I know. All of them, practically. You called when he wouldn't do his exercises. You called that night his pressure went up. You called when, not tonight. The words came out harder than I intended. She studied me, then nodded once. Not tonight. Ryan reappeared carrying Dad's empty cake plate. He's in bed, he said. Tess, he wants the blue blanket, but I couldn't find it. Hall closet, second shelf. I looked. It's behind the towels. Ryan dropped the plate into the sink. You two discussing me? No, I said. Yes, Tessa said. He smiled at her. At least somebody missed me. You live here. Exactly. Hard to miss. He opened the refrigerator, stared directly at the food I had just put away, and asked, Is there anything to eat? Tessa picked up her purse. I'll see you Monday, Frank, she called toward the hallway. He's in bed, Ryan said. I know where he is. At the front door, she turned to me. Call me if you need anything. Ryan leaned against the counter. She's home now. She doesn't need a caregiver. Tessa's expression changed by less than an inch. I'm not her caregiver. I know, I'm kidding, I know. The door closed softly behind her. Ryan whistled. She loves me. She knows where the knives are, so keep flirting. He laughed, but he kept watching me. What? I asked. Nothing. You're different. I've been home 7 hours, long 7 hours. We stood in the kitchen where our mother used to make coffee so strong it peeled the label off the can. The wallpaper still had blue apples on it. Everything looked smaller except the silence. Ryan scratched at the sauce on his cuff. Dad didn't mean it the way it sounded. How did it sound? He glanced toward the hallway, like he was grateful I was here. He said the family owed you everything. You want me to argue with a man who had a stroke? You argue with him about blankets. That's different. Why? Because blankets don't get hurt. For once, Ryan had no smile ready. He picked up the trash bag and tied it off. You should get some sleep. Planning to. You want me to help with your bags? They're already in my room. His eyes flicked toward the ceiling. My bedroom was upstairs. Dad could no longer manage the stairs, so Ryan had moved his home office up there when he moved in. He had told me he was using some space. I had pictured a folding table, maybe his printer beside my old dresser. Ryan lifted the trash bag. About your room. I walked past him. Leah. The stairs creaked in the same places. On the landing, a framed photograph showed Dad between Ryan and me at my enlistment ceremony. Dad's arm was around Ryan. My bedroom door stood half open. Inside were 2 desks, 3 computer monitors, stacks of landscaping invoices, muddy work boots, and a vinyl banner with Ryan's company logo. My bed was gone. My mother's cedar chest was gone too. Behind me, Ryan said, I can clear off the couch. I looked at him over my shoulder. Clear off the couch? I meant you could sleep there tonight. I know what you meant. He shifted the trash bag to his other hand. I didn't think you'd care about the room. You didn't think I'd need a room in the house where I live? You didn't live here. You were in Kuwait. I kept paying the electric bill. Dad pays the electric bill. Dad writes the check. I put money in his account. Ryan's face tightened. He didn't tell me that. I'm starting to notice a pattern. My duffel bag sat against the wall beneath a framed photograph of a striped base Ryan had caught at Lake Erie. One of his rolling office chairs blocked the closet. I moved it and opened the door. His landscaping shirts hung where my clothes had been. My mother's old sewing basket was gone from the top shelf. So were 2 cardboard boxes marked Winter and Mom's Things in thick black marker. "Where's the cedar chest?" "In the garage." I turned. "It's fine," he said quickly. "I covered it." "With what?" "A tarp." "Where are the boxes that were in here?" "Probably with it." "Probably?" "Leah, I moved this stuff 8 months ago." "I don't have a map." I stepped closer. "You moved Mom's things into the garage and can't remember where?" His shoulders came up. Ryan was 2 inches taller than me and had spent most of his adult life lifting bags of mulch, but he had never known what to do when I got quiet. "I needed the space," he said. "You have an office." "I lost the lease. That landed between us without enough room to soften." "When?" "January." I had been deployed for 3 months in January. He had told me business was busy. He had sent a photograph of 2 new trucks parked outside a job site and complained that good help was impossible to find. What happened? "The landlord raised the rent." "How much?" "Does it matter?" It mattered enough to move a business into my bedroom. Dad said it was okay. Of course he had. Dad had always treated the house as his kingdom until a decision required consequences. Then it became a democracy where I had missed the vote. I lifted one duffel onto my shoulder. Ryan reached for the other. "I've got it." "So do I. I'm trying to help." "You're holding a trash bag." He looked down as if it had betrayed him. I carried both bags downstairs. The couch had been my mother's last major furniture purchase, a gray sectional she called pewter, because gray sounded depressing. Ryan's sleeping bag was rolled behind it, still shiny and new. I found a fitted sheet in the hall closet behind the blue blanket Tessa had told him about. I took the blanket to Dad first. His bedroom had once been the den. After the stroke, we had paid to widen the doorway and replace the carpet with hard flooring. A hospital-style rail ran along one side of his bed. He had refused a second rail because 2 made it look like a cage. He was lying on his back with the television on mute. An old Western flickered blue across his face. "You found it," he said. "It was behind the towels." I told Ryan that. No, Tessa told Ryan that. He ignored the distinction. I spread the blanket over him, careful to keep it below his ankles because he hated weight on his feet. "You didn't need all those people tonight," I said. "It was a welcome home dinner. You welcomed Ryan." Dad's jaw worked. "Don't start," I asked one question. "No, you made one accusation with a question mark at the end." The television cowboy swung from a horse and landed on a moving wagon. Dad watched him manage it. I said, "You knew Ryan moved my things to the garage? He needed a place to work. I needed a place to come home to." "You're home, aren't you?" I looked around the converted den. A plastic urinal stood discreetly behind the nightstand. Tessa had taped a list of stretches beside the television. On Dad's dresser sat a photograph of my mother laughing with her head thrown back, her hand raised as if trying to block the camera too late. "I'm in the building," I said. Dad's right hand found the edge of the blanket. "Your brother's had a difficult year. So have I. You can handle difficult." I waited. He looked at the television. There it was again, the family compliment that always came with a bill. I tucked the blanket beneath his right side. "Good night, Dad." "Leah." I stopped at the door. His expression had softened, but whatever wanted to come out could not get past his pride. "Turn the hall light on. Not the overhead, the little one." I turned on the little one. Ryan had gone outside to put the trash in the bin. By the time he returned, I had made the couch into a bed and lined my boots beneath the coffee table. "You're really sleeping here? Unless the church needs its folding chairs back tonight." I could take the couch. "And sleep where?" "My room." I glanced toward the stairs. He rubbed the back of his neck. "Yeah." That sounded better in my head. Most things do. He laughed once and carried his sleeping bag upstairs. I took a shower in the upstairs bathroom because the downstairs one had been remodeled for Dad. Somebody had used my razor to scrape paint. The bottle of shampoo I'd left behind had been replaced by a gallon pump container that smelled like an icy forest. When I stepped out, I caught myself waiting for the air conditioner to come on before opening the bathroom door. In Kuwait, small sounds had given privacy in crowded quarters. At home, there was no one in the hallway. I opened it anyway. Ryan came out of my bedroom wearing jeans and a different polo. "You going somewhere? Mel's truck won't start." "At 11 at night?" It didn't check the time. "Who's Mel?" He gave me a look. "You met her. Your girlfriend? You make that sound unlikely." "I make everything sound unlikely." He shoved his wallet into his back pocket. "She's stuck at the bar. Then her truck started earlier. Battery's dead. I'm giving her a ride. You've been drinking." "I had 1 beer. You gave Dad half of yours, 4 ounces apparently." He started down the stairs. I followed. "Is this what you usually do? Help people?" "Sometimes. Leave Dad alone overnight." He stopped on the landing. "He's asleep." "That's not an answer. I'm gone maybe an hour." "Ryan, what? You're here." The ease of it stunned me more than the words. "I didn't agree to cover you. You don't have to cover me. He's sleeping." "Then why did he need you to stay here for 9 months? His face changed. From downstairs, Dad called, "What are you two whispering about?" "Nothing," Ryan called back. "Then whisper quieter." Ryan looked at me. "I'll be back." The front door closed behind him less than a minute later. I did not sleep. I lay on the couch with the pewter cushions shifting under my hips and listened to the house, the refrigerator compressor, the bathroom fan ticking as it cooled, pipes knocking in the wall, a car passing too fast on the county road. At 12:40, Dad coughed. At 1:15, the television in his room turned off. At 1:38, his bed rail clicked. I sat up. The metal walker scraped once, then stopped. "Dad?" "I'm fine." I reached the hall as he emerged from his room. He wore a white undershirt and plaid pajama pants. His left hand rested badly on the walker grip, fingers curled instead of wrapped. His face shone with concentration. "You're supposed to call for help. I'm going 10 feet. The bathroom is 12. Did the Army teach you to measure hallways? Only the dangerous ones." He tried to move the walker. His left foot caught on the floor. I put one hand beneath his elbow. "Don't lift me." "I'm not. You're thinking about it." "I can think whatever I want." We advanced together. Walker, right foot, left foot. The sequence was posted beside his bed, but his body did not care what the paper said. At the bathroom door, he said, "Wait outside." "I know. I don't need you listening. I have heard a grown man vomit into his own helmet. You can't impress me." His mouth twitched despite himself. I waited in the hallway while he managed. The toilet seat creaked. His breathing changed. I faced the wall and counted slowly, giving him time without making it feel like time. Then something clattered. I opened the door. His pajama pants were twisted at his knees, and the walker had tipped against the sink. He was gripping the safety rail with his right hand, furious and scared. "Don't," he said. "I'm not saying anything. Your face is saying plenty. My face is getting you upright." He hated every second of it. I got the walker beneath him, steadied his elbow, and looked away while he fixed his clothes. On the way back, his breathing turned ragged. "Slow down," I said. "I am slow. I mean breathe. I know how." Then show off. That got him to exhale. Once he was sitting on the bed, I crouched to straighten his left slipper. Dad looked toward the hall. "Ryan back?" "No, he won't be long." I said nothing. "He has a life, Leah. So do I. You chose yours." I stood. Dad seemed to hear the sentence only after it was out. His eyes moved to my face. "What's that supposed to mean?" I asked. "It means you wanted to serve, and you wanted me to go." "I didn't say that. You told me not to come home. That was different." "How?" "I was being taken care of." "By who?" He looked toward the door again. The front lock had not turned. Dad lay down with more force than necessary. "Go to bed." I was in bed. "You were on the couch. Apparently, that counts as staying." His good hand tightened around the blue blanket. I left the little hall light on. Ryan returned at 3:19, not an hour later. I heard the key turn and sat up before he stepped inside. He smelled like cold air, fried food, and somebody else's cigarette. He saw me. Jesus, no, just me. Why are you sitting in the dark? Dad needed the bathroom. He shut the door gently. He okay? He almost fell. But he didn't. You weren't here. You were. You don't hand someone a watch while they're asleep and neglect to mention they're on it. His eyes hardened. This isn't Kuwait. No, in Kuwait, people showed up for their shifts. He flinched, then glanced toward Dad's room. Keep your voice down. Go to bed, Ryan. He stood there another moment, holding his car keys so tightly the metal pressed white marks into his fingers. You think one night tells you everything? No, I said. I think it tells me about one night. In the morning, I woke to the sound of an engine revving directly outside the living room window. Sunlight cut through the blinds. My neck had locked at an angle that made turning my head a group project. Dad was in the kitchen wearing yesterday's shirt. His walker stood near the table, out of reach. He had a dry piece of toast on a paper plate. What time did you get up? He looked at the clock. Before you, that wasn't the question. Coffee's empty. I checked his pill organizer. The Saturday morning compartment was still full. Did you take these? I'm eating first. You ate. This is toast. Toast is a platform. For what? Breakfast. Outside, the engine revved again. I looked through the window. Ryan stood beside one of his trailers, talking on his phone while a mower coughed blue smoke into the driveway. 3 employees waited beside him, drinking coffee. Dad followed my gaze. He works hard, he said. The statement was bait. I left it untouched. I filled a glass of water and placed his pills beside it. Then I opened the refrigerator. 2 meal prep containers labeled Thursday sat unopened behind a case of beer. The lettuce had liquefied in its bag. A delivery box held 6 tiny cups of ranch dressing and no vegetables. On the bottom shelf, one of Tessa's carefully marked dinners had been opened, tasted, and shoved back without a lid. Dad said, Ryan was going to clean that out. Of course he was. I took a trash bag from beneath the sink. 20 minutes later, Ryan came inside looking irritated and awake. Fuel pump, he announced. Dad nodded as if receiving battlefield intelligence. Ryan poured coffee into the empty pot, stared at it, then set the pot back. I tied the trash bag. Show me the garage. He looked from me to the bag. Now? Yes. I've got a crew waiting. They seem experienced at it. Dad said my name in warning. Ryan exhaled through his nose. Fine. The garage smelled of gasoline, wet cardboard, and cut grass. Equipment filled the center aisle. Bags of fertilizer leaned against one wall. Along the back, beneath a blue plastic tarp, was my mother's cedar chest. The tarp covered the top. It did not cover the sides. One corner sat in a dark crescent of water, where rain had slipped beneath the garage door. The cedar had swollen along the bottom seam. Beside it, the box marked Mom's Things had collapsed inward, its cardboard soft as bread. Ryan stopped behind me. I didn't know it leaked, he said. I knelt in the damp and put my hand against the warped wood. For the first time since I came home, nobody tried to make me laugh. The bottom edge gave slightly beneath my palm. Turn off the mower, I said. What? The vibration isn't helping. Turn everything off. Ryan stepped outside and shouted to his crew. One engine died, then another. The sudden quiet left the garage sounding hollow. I peeled back the tarp. The lid of the chest was speckled with mildew. My mother had bought it at an estate sale when I was 12 and spent a month sanding somebody else's initials out of the wood. She never got them all. If the light hit the lid sideways, you could still see J+M inside a crooked heart. Ryan crouched beside me. We can move it into the house, not until we know what's wet. I'll get towels. Not towels. Trash bags, clean sheets, 2 box fans, and the folding tables from last night. He started to stand. And gloves. He looked at me. It's water, Leah. It's mildew. Yes, Staff Sergeant. I turned my head. He raised both hands, getting gloves. That tone had followed me since basic training. Some people could not receive a clear instruction from a woman without saluting the air around it. Ryan had been doing his version since we were teenagers. Still, he brought everything I asked for. We moved the lawn equipment onto the driveway. His crew watched from beside the trucks, unsure whether they were witnessing a family emergency or a yard sale. Ryan told his foreman, a broad man named Calvin, to take the crew to the morning job without him. Calvin looked at the open chest, then at me. "You need another set of hands?" "We're good," Ryan said. I said, "Yes." Calvin nodded and joined us without making Ryan's face part of the discussion. We lifted out quilts first. The top two were dry. The third was damp at one corner and smelled like the basement of a church. Beneath them were my mother's winter scarves, a stack of letters tied with green ribbon, photographs in paper envelopes, and a wooden recipe box shaped like a little barn. My chest tightened at the letters. They were dry. I checked them twice. Ryan unfolded a white tablecloth with embroidered blue flowers. Mom hated this thing. She made that. She hated making it. That was true. She had spent most of one winter swearing at those flowers, then brought the finished tablecloth out for every holiday as proof she had defeated it. We laid it across a folding table in the sun. Calvin carried the damp cardboard boxes one at a time. He was gentle with them, despite hands that looked capable of crushing bricks. When the bottom fell out of the box marked winter, he caught the contents against his chest. A red sweater tumbled onto the concrete. Ryan grabbed it before it reached the wet floor. For 10 minutes, none of us said much. We sorted what could dry, what needed cleaning, and what had turned soft at the edges. I worked automatically. Damage assessment, separate affected material, improve airflow, do not let one bad condition spread. It was easier to call things material. Dad appeared in the doorway, gripping his walker. Ryan stood. "What are you doing out here? Apparently watching you give away my lawn." Calvin glanced toward the strips of grass beneath our tables. "We'll put it back," I said. Dad's eyes moved over the quilts, the photographs, the open chest. He stopped joking. "Oh," he said. Ryan rubbed both hands on his jeans. "There's a leak. I can see that. I didn't know. I told you the seal under that door was bad. You said it let in cold air. And what do you imagine carries cold air, Ryan? Fairies? Air carries air. Don't get scientific because you ruined your mother's chest." Ryan's mouth opened. I straightened. "You told him he could move it." Dad looked at me. "You gave him my room," I said. "That meant everything in it had to go somewhere. I didn't tell him to put it in water. He didn't put it in water." "Thank you," Ryan said. "I'm not defending you. I'm refusing to let him pretend this happened without him." Dad's face darkened. I did what made sense at the time. So did he. Calvin studied a damp photograph with extraordinary interest. Dad shifted his weight, and the walker rocked. I stepped toward him. He lifted his good hand. "Don't." Ryan reached him first. Dad allowed Ryan to turn the walker around and guide him back toward the house. As they crossed the driveway, Dad muttered something. Ryan bent his head to hear it. The two of them moved slowly, one matching the other's pace. Calvin said, "Want me to stay?" "No, go make money." He nodded toward the road. "Sun's good today. Keep the paper stuff out of direct light. You restore photographs? My basement floods." He left without another word. I picked up the recipe box. The roof had separated along one side. Inside, my mother's handwriting leaned across index cards, compressed and impatient. Pot roast, lemon bars, something labeled Paula's Terrible Dip, followed by Do Not Make. Ryan came back alone. Dad's in his chair. "Did you give him the walker? Put it in front of him. Within reach?" He stared at me. "Yes." "Good." He took the recipe box from my hands and examined the split seam. "I can glue this. Do you know how?" "I work with wood. You cut branches. I also build retaining walls. Those are made of stone." He gave me a tired look. "I can glue a box." I let him keep it. We spent the rest of the morning drying my mother across the backyard. Her clothes hung from the fence. Her photographs covered the shaded end of the patio. Ryan cleaned the chest with diluted vinegar while I held the flashlight along the seams. He followed every instruction without commentary, which was so unlike him that I checked twice to make sure I had the right brother. At noon, Mel arrived carrying a dehumidifier and a paper bag from a sandwich shop. She was tall, with black hair piled on top of her head and heavy eyeliner left over from the previous night. She wore a t-shirt from O'Malley's Tavern. "You must be Leah," she said. "I was told you're scary. I've been home less than a day." He called me from the hardware store. Ryan took the dehumidifier from her. I said organized. You said, "She has a system for the mold." I did have a system. Mel handed me the sandwich bag. "Turkey, no tomato." That's what he said. I looked at Ryan. He shrugged. "You've hated tomatoes since birth. It was an annoying thing to remember." Mel walked to the tables and touched one corner of the damp quilt. "This is bad. It could be worse," I said. "That's a military answer. What's a bartender answer? It's bad, but there are sandwiches." I liked her immediately, which also annoyed me. Ryan plugged in the dehumidifier inside the garage. Mel helped me carry the letters into the house, where the air conditioning was better. Dad sat in his recliner watching a baseball game. He looked at the bundle in my arms and pressed his lips together. "Those from the chest?" "Yes." "They get wet?" "No." His shoulders dropped. Mel set a box of photographs on the dining table. "We saved most of it." Dad looked at Ryan through the window. He should have known. "You should have known too," I said. Mel went very still. Dad turned up the television. I took the letters upstairs. My mother's things occupied the clean half of Ryan's office by evening. He surrendered one desk without argument and moved 2 towers of invoices to the floor. We spread the photographs across the desktop with the fan aimed indirectly at them. The chest remained in the garage with the dehumidifier running. Ryan glued the little recipe barn at the dining table. Dad watched him from his recliner. "You're using too much," he said. "I'm using the amount it needs. That glue dries yellow. It says clear. It lies." "Why would glue lie?" "Marketing." Ryan glanced at me. "You want to do this?" "No." "Then support the artist." Dad made a noise of disgust, but he stayed awake to watch. Mel left before dinner for another shift at O'Malley's. At the door, she kissed Ryan, then pointed at him. "Call me after you check the garage." "I know. And don't leave the dehumidifier plugged into that orange cord overnight. The cord gets hot." "I know." She looked at me. "He doesn't know. I know." Ryan opened the door wider. "Great meeting." After she left, he made grilled cheese sandwiches and burned one side of each. Dad ate his without complaint. That was either love or loss of taste. At 7, Dad took his pills after I placed the cup in front of him. Ryan saw me checking the organizer. "Tessa handles that," he said. "Tessa isn't here. She sets it up for the week. She sets it up. Somebody still has to make sure he takes them." Dad knows. Dad raised his sandwich. I'm at the table. "What happens when you aren't?" I asked. Ryan leaned against the counter. "Why are you doing this?" "Doing what?" "Inspecting everything." "I'm looking." "You look like an inspector." "What does an inspector look like?" "Disappointed with a clipboard." "I don't have a clipboard." "Yet?" Dad smiled at his plate. I could have fought with Ryan. Instead, I asked him when Dad's next physical therapy appointment was. "Tuesday." Dad said, "Wednesday." Ryan looked at him. "No, speech is Wednesday. I finished speech therapy last month." "You did?" I waited. Ryan pointed his sandwich at me. "Tessa knows." The next morning, I found the schedule taped to the side of the refrigerator beneath a pizza coupon and one of Ryan's landscaping magnets. Physical therapy was Tuesday at 10. Neurology was Wednesday at 2. Tessa's agency hours were written across the top in my handwriting. Monday, Friday, 8 o'clock, 1 o'clock. Ryan came in from the garage wearing the same jeans. "Chest is dry on the outside," he said. "It has to dry inside the wood." "I know. You didn't yesterday." "I know now." Dad called from his room and Ryan turned immediately. He had stayed in the house all night. I noticed because I had stayed awake long enough to be sure. That did not make the previous night disappear. It did make him harder to reduce to one clean judgment, which felt inconsiderate of him. He helped Dad dress. I heard them arguing over whether brown socks matched navy pants. Ryan claimed all dark colors were cousins. Dad said that explained his business logo. While they were occupied, I took the schedule down and set it on the table. At noon, Ryan left for a job and returned with fried chicken. He knew Dad preferred the skin removed, but forgot to remove it. Dad ate the skin while looking directly at me. By Sunday evening, the house had begun to feel less like the place I remembered and more like a position I had inherited without a briefing. Every cabinet held a surprise. Every routine depended on someone else remembering it. Tessa arrived Monday at 7:53 wearing purple scrubs and carrying her own coffee. She stopped when she saw my bedding on the couch. "You slept there?" "It's softer than it looks. It looks like a parking curb." Dad called from his room. "I can hear you insulting my furniture." "It's your wife's furniture," Tessa called back. "That's why I'm not defending it." Tessa set down her coffee and checked the pill organizer before she took off her jacket. She noticed the empty compartments, then looked at me. "How was the weekend? Educational?" Ryan came downstairs, fastening his watch. "Morning, Tess." She looked him over. "You're awake. You wound me. I've considered it." He opened the refrigerator, took out one of the meal prep containers, and sniffed it. "That's your father's lunch," Tessa said. "He has more. He has exactly 5 because I made exactly 5. Ryan put it back. I slid the care schedule across the table. "What's this?" he asked. "The week." "I know what a week is." "Tessa leaves at 1. He glanced at her. "Every day?" Tessa slowly removed the lid from her coffee. Ryan looked at me. "I thought she stayed until 5. "She does," I said, "because I pay her to." The kitchen went quiet. Dad's walker scraped against the bedroom floor. Ryan lowered his voice. "You pay the extra hours?" "Yes." "Since when?" "Since December." He looked toward our father's room, then back at the schedule. "Why didn't anybody tell me?" I held his gaze. "At 1 o'clock today," I said, "now you know." Ryan looked at Tessa as if she had been impersonating a volunteer. "You knew?" "I cashed the checks. I mean, you knew I thought the agency covered it." "No," Tessa said. "I knew you never asked." Dad came into the kitchen with his walker, wearing one brown sock and one black one. Ryan had lost the argument or won it creatively. "What's going on?" Nobody answered fast enough. Dad looked at me. "Leah, I've been paying Tessa for her afternoon hours." His walker stopped. "For how long?" "Since December." "You told me the agency approved more time." I said we had more time covered. "That's not the same thing." "No." His face went pale beneath the red along his cheeks. "How much?" "Dad, how much?" Tessa moved his chair away from the table so he could sit. He ignored her and kept looking at me. "It isn't important," I said. "It's my care. Apparently, it's your money. I decide what's important." Ryan pulled out a chair. "Sit down first." Dad glared at him. "You knew about this?" "I found out 12 seconds before you. That made Dad sit." Tessa set a glass of water in front of him. He did not touch it. "You had no right," he said to me. "You needed help." "I had Ryan." Ryan studied the refrigerator. "You had Ryan overnight," I said. "Tessa was supposed to leave at 1. "And I was here," Ryan said. "Were you?" He looked at me. Dad's good hand flattened on the table. "Don't come home and interrogate everybody. I asked one question. You've been asking questions since you walked in. That's because the answers keep getting worse." Tessa picked up her coffee. "I am going to make eggs." Nobody requested eggs. She made them anyway. Dad leaned back in his chair. "You should have told me. You would have refused. That was my decision." "And then what?" "Ryan leaves for a job, you decide you can carry soup while using a walker, and gravity respects your independence? I can feed myself. The open meals in the refrigerator disagree. I didn't like those. You didn't open them. Maybe I knew in advance." Ryan sat across from him. "Dad, she's right about the afternoon." Dad turned on him. "Don't change sides because somebody showed you a schedule. I'm not changing sides." "There shouldn't be sides," Tessa said from the stove. All 3 of us looked at her. She cracked another egg into the skillet. Yet somehow I need eggs for 4. Dad rubbed his forehead. His stroke had changed the visible parts of him. The drag in his foot, the stubborn hand, the faint pull at the left corner of his mouth when he was tired. It had not created his pride. That had survived completely intact. I could have paid her, he said. With what? I asked. I have money. You have enough for the agency copay, the house, groceries, and your medication. The extra hours would eat what's left. Then we would adjust. That's what I did. You went behind my back. From Kuwait. It was the only direction available. Ryan covered his mouth, but I saw the smile. Dad did too. You think this is funny? No, Ryan said. That line was a little funny. Tessa slid eggs onto plates. Eat before the family pride raises your blood pressure. Dad stared at the eggs. I'm not hungry. Then eat out of spite. He picked up his fork. I carried my coffee to the front porch because the kitchen had run out of oxygen. The morning was already warm. Ryan's trucks filled the driveway, one green and one white, both carrying his company name in large lettering. The white truck had a dent above the rear wheel. I remembered the photograph he had sent me of them in January. He had stood between them with his thumbs raised. From inside came the low murmur of Dad and Tessa, arguing over salt. The screen door opened behind me. Tessa stepped outside and let it close gently. He's eating, she said. I heard the celebration. She leaned against the railing. You should have told him. I know. You should have told Ryan too. I didn't know he didn't know. You didn't ask. The accusation was quiet, which made it harder to dodge. I looked across the road at the soybean field. Ryan was supposed to handle evenings. Dad told me Ryan was handling evenings. Every time something went wrong, I arranged around it. You arranged very well. That doesn't sound like a compliment. It isn't. I turned toward her. Tessa folded her arms. You don't get to use me as proof your brother failed. I'm not. At 1 o'clock, if he is not here, I'm not walking out while Frank is alone. I wouldn't expect you to. Then what exactly happens? I had no answer that did not end with me sitting in the kitchen. She nodded once. That's what I thought. I'm not trying to put Dad at risk. I know. You're trying to stop being the person everyone assumes will prevent every risk. Yes, those are not automatically the same thing. The front door opened again. Ryan came out holding his keys. I moved my estimates to tonight, he said. I'll be back by 12:30. Tessa checked her watch. 12:45 gives me time to tell you what he needs. I know what he needs. What does he eat for lunch? Food. What time does he rest? When he's tired. What do you do if his left ankle swells? Ryan pointed at me. This is where she gets it. This is why I'm staying until 12:45. He walked toward his truck, then turned to me. Can you be here by 3? I have to look at a retaining wall. Does it need glue? His mouth almost smiled. 3? No. I'm asking for 2 hours. I've been home 3 days. And what are you doing today? I don't know yet. That's convenient. No. Convenient is finding out somebody came home and deciding your shift ended. His jaw tightened. Tessa said, Go to work, Ryan. He got into the white truck and backed around the equipment trailer without another word. Tessa watched him leave. He came back, she said. This morning? Last night? He stayed. I noticed. He does care. I know. Do you? I took my coffee inside. Dad refused to look at me while Tessa checked his blood pressure. I cleared the breakfast plates, then took my duffels upstairs and changed into clean jeans. Ryan's office smelled faintly of damp cedar. My mother's letters sat on the desk where I had left them. Beside the bundle was the repaired recipe box. A thin line of dried glue showed along the roof. It had dried clear. I packed a smaller bag with enough clothes for 3 nights. Downstairs, Tessa was guiding Dad through his exercises. He sat in a straight-back chair and lifted his left knee 2 inches, face clenched. Again, she said, I did 10. You did 8. I did 2 before you came in. Then they were recreational. He saw my bag by the door. His knee dropped. Where are you going? To find somewhere to sleep. You have the couch. I also have vertebrae. Don't be dramatic. I can't turn my head. Turn your whole body. Tessa pressed her lips together. Dad looked at the bag. You just got home. Yes. And now you're leaving. I'm looking at apartments. Why? I waited to see whether he could hear himself. He could not. Ryan returned at 12:37 carrying a paper sack and talking into his phone. Tessa made him hang up before she gave him the afternoon instructions. Lunch at 1, rest at 2, walk to the mailbox at 3 if it isn't too hot, no shower unless someone is in the hall. His left ankle was puffy yesterday, so check it after the walk. Ryan nodded. Repeat it. Are you serious? Deeply. He repeated everything. He missed the ankle. She made him start again. Dad sat in his recliner, glaring at all of us. I'm in the room. That's why we're using your name, Tessa said. At 12:51, she picked up her purse. Ryan looked surprised. You're actually leaving. My extraordinary powers stop at 1 unless your sister buys more. Dad flinched. Tessa saw it and softened. Frank, I'll be back tomorrow. I know. She glanced at me on her way out. Don't pick the first apartment because you're angry. I don't do things because I'm angry. Everybody does things because they're angry. Smart people rename it. The first apartment smelled like boiled cabbage despite being empty. The carpet had a brown path from the door to the kitchen, and the bedroom window faced the brick wall of a pharmacy. The property manager called it cozy. I called it a fire code question and left. The second was above a tax preparation office. It had slanted floors, yellow cabinets, and a window over the sink that looked across a gravel lot toward a line of maple trees. When I set my bag down, it stayed where I put it. The landlord, a retired mail carrier named June, watched me test the deadbolt. You military? She asked. Guard. My last tenant was Navy. Kept the place clean and stole my good snow shovel. I don't need a shovel. You will in Ohio. I won't steal yours. That's what the Navy said. The lease was month to month. The rent was more than I wanted to pay and less than peace should have cost. I told her I would call. At 2:17, Ryan texted. What does he take for pain? I wrote. Ask him where the medication list is. A minute later, he says Tylenol. Then give him Tylenol. How much? The dose is on the list. Where's the list? I put my phone face down on the passenger seat. At 2:24, it rang. Before you get mad, Ryan said. I found the list. I wasn't going to get mad. You answer like you're going to get mad. What happened? Nothing. His shoulder hurts from the exercises. Then why did you call? A pause. To make sure. There was something in his voice I recognized from radio calls made by new soldiers trying not to sound new. Check that it's regular strength, I said, not the arthritis one. Okay. And make sure he drinks the whole glass of water. He hates water. I'm aware. He lowered his voice. You getting an apartment? I looked at one. Dad's pissed. Dad has a rich inner life. What am I supposed to tell him? The truth. Which part? That I'm 40 years old and don't want to live on a couch under the supervision of blue apples. Ryan laughed before he could stop himself. In the background, Dad called, What did she say? She said she hates the wallpaper. I heard that. Ryan lowered his voice again. Can you still come back by 5? I plan to. Okay. He sounded relieved, and I hated that I was relieved too. When I returned, Dad was asleep in his chair. His left foot rested on a cushion. An empty water glass sat beside him. Ryan was at the dining table with his laptop, whispering into his phone about drainage. He ended the call when he saw me. He ate. He rested. We didn't walk because it's 90 degrees. Ankle looks normal. You survived. Barely. He watched 2 hours of a man repairing tractors without speaking. He likes that show. Nobody likes that show. Dad opened one eye. I do. Ryan closed his laptop. We need to figure this out, he said. I agree. Dad sat up. Figure what out? I put the care schedule on the coffee table where all 3 of us could see it. I'll keep paying Tessa's afternoons for 30 days, I said. After that, I'm done. Dad's face hardened. Nobody asked you to pay. You needed the hours. Now you both know what they cost. Ryan looked at the schedule. I can't be here every afternoon, then help pay for care. My business is barely covering payroll, then cover time. He dragged a hand across his mouth. Dad looked at me as if I had become a stranger while he slept. Deployment made you cold. No, I said. Deployment taught me what happens when nobody knows whose job it is. I tapped the schedule. For the next 30 days, we decide whose job this is. It won't automatically be mine. Dad stared at the paper as if it were terms of surrender. You don't get to assign me, he said. I'm not assigning you. I'm resigning from a job nobody admitted I had. You're my daughter. Exactly. Ryan leaned forward, elbows on his knees. What are the options? Dad turned on him. You're encouraging this? I'm asking a question. The options, I said, are paid care, family coverage, or some combination. Tessa can tell us what's safe. You both decide what you can do. You're the one who knows all the medical stuff, Ryan said. I know it because I learned it. Great. Teach me. I put the schedule in front of you. A schedule isn't teaching. His frustration had an edge I recognized because mine matched it. I had spent months wanting him to ask. Now that he had, every answer in me wanted to punish him for being late. Tessa's warning came back. You don't get to use me as proof your brother failed. Fine, I said. Tomorrow morning you shadow Tessa. I have a drainage job. Then pick another day. Thursday. You have estimates Thursday, Dad said. Ryan looked at him. How do you know that? You talk on the phone like the whole house is your office. Because it is my office. Not for long, I said. He looked up sharply. My room, your office. You're moving out. That doesn't make it yours. Where am I supposed to put everything? I gestured toward the dining table. Dad said, absolutely not, see? Ryan told me. Management rejected the proposal. For a moment, the old rhythm returned. Ryan made trouble funny. Dad pretended not to enjoy it, and I stood with the answer nobody wanted. Then Dad folded the schedule in half. I'm going to bed. It's 6:30, Ryan said. I didn't ask the clock. He reached for his walker. Ryan stood to help, but Dad waved him back. He pushed himself upright and started down the hall alone, lifting his left foot too high as fatigue wrecked his balance. Neither of us moved until he reached his bedroom. Ryan let out a breath. You could have eased into this. I eased into it for 8 months. He didn't know. You did. I knew you helped. I didn't know you were paying Tess. You knew enough to avoid asking questions. He picked up the folded schedule and opened it again. You think I used you, didn't you? I thought Dad had it handled. Dad thought you had it handled. And you thought nobody did. I was right. Ryan looked toward the hallway. His voice dropped. You liked being right. I felt that one land. He saw it and hated himself just enough to get angry. I'm going to check the garage, he said. The extension cord. I know about the extension cord. He went outside. I carried my bag back to the couch and called June. The apartment was still available. She told me to bring identification, the deposit, and a pen because hers kept disappearing into the pockets of prospective tenants. Military discount, I asked. No, worth trying. I'll lend you a snow shovel. I'll take it. I signed the lease the next morning at the tax office downstairs because June's kitchen table was covered in a 1,000-piece puzzle of the Grand Canyon. The tax preparer, who was not open for business in July, notarized something for another tenant while wearing golf shoes. June gave me 2 keys on a brass ring shaped like Ohio. Back door sticks when it rains, she said. Washer takes quarters. Don't park beside the dumpster on Thursdays unless you want your car trapped by a man named Eugene. What does Eugene drive? Garbage truck. Useful context. The apartment looked better with the morning sun. The yellow cabinets were still yellow, but now they seemed deliberate. I set my duffels in the bedroom and listened. A truck downshifted on the main road. Pipes moved behind the wall. Someone in another apartment sneezed and said, "Excuse me," to no one. Nothing in the room needed me. I sat on the bare floor until the silence stopped feeling like a warning. My phone buzzed. Ryan had sent a picture of Dad seated at the kitchen table with Tessa. In front of him were 3 orange prescription bottles, the pill organizer, and a notebook. His message said, "Training." I enlarged the photograph. Dad was scowling. Tessa held up one finger as if Ryan had already interrupted. I wrote, "Good." 3 dots appeared, vanished, then appeared again. He sent, "That's it?" I put the phone in my pocket. The first furniture I bought was a mattress. The salesman tried to sell me an adjustable frame with massage settings and a charging port. "I need to sleep," I said. "This optimizes the experience. I've slept on gravel. Then anything I sell you is an upgrade." He was right. I bought the cheapest firm mattress that could be delivered that afternoon. At Dad's house, Ryan had moved one desk out of my room and stacked the monitors along the wall. The photographs were dry. My mother's letters sat where I had left them. The air smelled like vinegar and the lemon furniture polish Tessa used when Dad wasn't watching. "You signed?" Ryan asked. "Yes." He stood in the doorway while I packed clothes from the dresser. Dad hasn't said much. He usually recovers. "Tessa made me take notes." "Did you?" He lifted a small spiral notebook from his back pocket. On the cover, he had written Frank in block letters. I tried not to look surprised. Ryan opened it. "Left ankle swelling. Elevate and check whether it leaves a dent. Blood pressure before breakfast, not after coffee. Walker has to be in front of him even though he parks it across the room to prove a point." From downstairs, Dad shouted, "I can hear you." Ryan raised his voice. "Good. Then stop doing it." There was a pause. "No," Dad called back. Ryan shut the notebook. "He's exhausting. You've known him 38 years. Not like this. No." That was the cleanest truth we had managed all week. I took my service dress uniform from the back of the closet. It was sealed in a garment bag. Ryan had hung his green polos on either side of it. "Why didn't you move this?" I asked. He shrugged. "Felt wrong." "The rest didn't?" He looked at the boxes. "The rest felt like stuff." "Mom's chest felt like stuff?" His jaw shifted. "No," he said. "That's why I covered it. With half a tarp. I didn't say I did it well." I zipped the garment bag. He stayed in the doorway. Dad couldn't look at her things. "What?" "After the stroke. When he came home, he kept asking me to bring the chest downstairs. Then every place I suggested was wrong. Living room was too damp. Bedroom was too crowded. Dining room made it look like storage. So you put it in the garage. He finally told me to get it out of the house. You could have told me. You were deployed. I had a phone. You had enough." It was the first time anyone in the family had said that, as if it might be true. Ryan rubbed his thumb along the notebook's wire binding. "You called and asked about Dad. You didn't call to hear me complain about furniture. I called you. You called to check whether he ate. Because you didn't tell me. Because sometimes he didn't. We stood among the evidence of 2 different failures, and neither of us knew which one deserved the room. I carried my mother's letters to the car. Ryan brought the recipe box. "You keep that for now," I said. His eyebrows lifted. "Why?" "You glued it?" "You mocked my glue. It dried clear." He held the little barn against his chest. High praise. I left the cedar chest in the garage. The wood still needed time to dry, and the bottom seam needed repair I did not trust either of us to attempt. Dad sat in his recliner with the baseball game on. "You going?" he asked. "I'll be back Thursday." "Why Thursday? To visit?" "You need an appointment now? I'm giving you notice." He looked at the garment bag over my shoulder. "Take the blue blanket. I have blankets. That apartment probably has bad heat. It's July. Winter tends to follow." I almost smiled. "Keep it here." He stared at the television. "Your mother hated apartments. Mom lived in one for 6 years before she met you. Hated every minute. She told me she loved the fire escape. She liked smoking on the fire escape." Different. My mother had quit smoking before I was born. I knew the fire escape only from photographs. Iron railing, brick wall, Mom in oversized sunglasses with one bare foot hooked around a chair leg. Dad's gaze stayed on the game. "Your bed got a broken spring," he said. That's why Ryan got rid of it. He could have replaced it. You weren't here." The words came out softer this time, almost an explanation. I waited for him to look at me. He didn't. I left. The apartment smelled like new mattress plastic and somebody else's cooking. I ate takeout noodles sitting on the kitchen counter because I had no chairs. At 9, I showered. At 10, I turned off the lights. At 10:12, my phone rang. Dad's name filled the screen. I answered. "What happened?" "Nothing happened." "Are you hurt?" "No." "Is Ryan there?" "He went to Mel's." I sat up. "Did he tell you he was leaving?" "I'm not a prisoner." "He doesn't need permission." "Then why are you calling?" A long pause. "I can't find the television remote." I close my eyes. "Did you check between the cushion and the arm of the recliner?" I checked. "With your right hand?" "Which hand do you imagine I check with?" "Stand up. I'm not getting up for a remote." "Then you don't want it." He muttered something. I heard the walker shift. Fabric scraped. He breathed hard once, then said, "Found it." "Where?" "Floor." "Did you drop it?" "No." "It escaped?" "Probably." I lay back against the pillow. Neither of us hung up. The television came on at his end. A crowd roared from a ballpark. Dad said, "Mattress comfortable?" "It's fine." "Fine means no. It means I've had it 6 hours. You should have taken the blue blanket. I'm not cold." He changed channels. "Tessa says Ryan learned the pills." "Good. He wrote things down." "I know. How?" "He sent me a picture." Dad was quiet again. "Calls aren't being there," I said. His breathing stopped for half a beat. "No," he said. "They aren't." The answer was stubborn, but it no longer sounded certain. I waited. He lowered the television volume. "Good night, Leah." "Good night, Dad." He hung up first. The brass Ohio key dug into my hip when I rolled over. For one confused second, I did not know the ceiling. Then the pipes knocked behind the wall. Somebody upstairs dropped what sounded like a bowling ball, and the empty room arranged itself around me. My phone had no missed calls. That should have felt peaceful. Instead, I checked whether it had service. I unpacked the garment bag, hung my uniform in the narrow closet, and found Ryan's green landscaping polo clinging to the plastic by static. I peeled it off and folded it over a chair I did not own yet. By 8, I was at the warehouse. I wasn't due back for another 10 days. Dana Ellison, my civilian boss, found me standing above the shipping floor with coffee and no reason to be there. Dana was 60, wore red reading glasses on a silver chain, and had the unnerving habit of letting silence collect interest. "You're early," she said. "I can read a calendar. Then you know you're early. I needed to drop off my return paperwork. Human Resources has email." I was nearby. She looked through the window at the floor below. Pallets moved between yellow safety lines. A forklift reversed with a familiar electronic chirp. "You miss us?" she asked. "No." "Good. We're awful." Someone had moved the cold storage staging lane 3 bays to the left. The old layout had always caused congestion near receiving. I had submitted a proposal to move it before I deployed. "Who changed the floor plan?" I asked. "Mateo." "It works. He'll be devastated you approve." Dana watched me watch the warehouse. "Go home, Leah. I have an apartment now." "Then go there. I have no furniture." "Buy furniture." "I don't need much." That is something people say before eating dinner over a sink. I looked at her. She lifted both hands. "I don't care what you buy. I care that you don't come back here and start fixing things before payroll is allowed to pay you. I'm not fixing anything. You've been here 7 minutes and moved that empty pallet with your eyes." The pallet was blocking an exit stripe. Dana sighed. 10 days. Sleep. See your family. Make bad choices at a home improvement store. I've seen my family. And I got an apartment. Efficient. She did not ask why. That was why I had come. Before I left, I moved the empty pallet. In the parking lot, my phone rang. The neurology clinic's number appeared on the screen. I answered automatically. "Ms. Mercer? We have your father scheduled with Dr. Patel at 2 today. We're calling because his previous appointment notes say he may need assistance entering the building. My brother is taking him." "Ryan?" "Yes. We don't have confirmation from him. Did you call? We left a message. I looked at the warehouse doors. They had already closed behind me. Call him again. There was a polite pause. You're listed as the primary contact. Please change that. I can note a preference, but your father would need to authorize. Put Ryan first for transportation. Keep me for medical emergencies. I can add that note. Thank you. I called Ryan after we hung up. He answered over engine noise. I know. Know what? Neurology. 2 o'clock. They haven't confirmed with you. I'm driving. Then stop talking to me. I'm using the truck speaker. Where's Dad? With Tess. Do you have his medication list? The purple folder. Blue. It looks purple. It says medical on the front. I've got it. Insurance card? In the folder. Walker? He went quiet. Ryan. I'll get it. The call ended. 5 minutes later, he sent a photograph of the walker strapped into the truck bed. I wrote, put it in the cab. The metal will be hot. The 3 dots appeared. Then, right. I bought 2 folding chairs from a discount store and carried them upstairs to the apartment. By the time I had assembled one, Ryan sent another message. They're running 40 minutes behind. I wrote, welcome to healthcare. Dad says chair is designed by enemy interrogators. That sounded like Dad. An hour later, Doc says progress is good. Wants more walking. Changed nothing. I set the phone down. Ryan had taken him. Ryan had listened. The world had not ended because I made him do it. The world also had not become fair. When I arrived at Dad's house the following afternoon, Tessa's car was in the driveway and Ryan's white truck was parked partly on the lawn. Aunt Paula sat at the kitchen table drinking coffee. She had brought a pan of baked spaghetti, a dish that managed to be both dry and liquid. There she is, Paula said. Your father told me you moved into town. I've always lived in town. You know what I mean. I kissed her cheek and put the mail beside Dad's place. He looked better. The swelling beneath his eyes had eased, and he had buttoned his own shirt. The bottom button was in the wrong hole, making one side hang lower. I did not fix it. Ryan came in from the garage carrying the repaired recipe box. The patient lives, he said. The roof held. He had sanded away the extra glue and rubbed oil into the wood. The little barn looked cleaner than I remembered. Dad touched the roof with one finger. Your mother said I built that. You did not, Paula said. I repaired it. You put a nail through the chimney. It held. There was no chimney before you repaired it. Ryan handed the box to me. I stayed historically accurate. I opened it. The card still smelled faintly like cedar and onions. Paula leaned toward me. Your mother's lemon bars are in there. So is your terrible dip. She looked delighted. She loved that dip. Read the back. Paula found the card, flipped it over, and gasped. Dad laughed so hard he coughed. Tessa appeared from the hallway before the second cough, listened to his chest without a stethoscope, and placed water in front of him. I'm fine, he said. Then drink. Paula looked between them. I don't know what Frank would have done without all of you. Dad drank, set down the glass, and nodded toward Ryan. This one kept me alive. The room changed. It was a small change. A refrigerator motor clicked off. Ryan stopped smiling. Tessa's hand remained around the water pitcher. Paula did not notice. He's a good son. Ryan looked at me. I looked at the recipe box. Paula stayed another 15 minutes. She told us about a woman at church who had married her physical therapist, then realized halfway through the story that it sounded like a recommendation and clarified that Dad's therapist was male. Still not interested, Dad said. When she left, Tessa carried the coffee cups to the sink. Ryan took out his notebook. What time are we walking? In 10 minutes, Tessa said. Dad reached for the remote. It's too humid. 8 minutes. Humidity remains. 7. I liked you better at 8. Tessa turned off the faucet. Frank, she said, Ryan did not keep you alive. Nobody moved. Dad's thumb rested on the remote. Tessa dried her hands carefully. He helped. Sometimes. I helped because it was my job. Leah helped every day from wherever she was. Dad's face closed. We already discussed this. No, you spoke. Everybody else became polite. Ryan stood. Tess. She looked at him. You let him say it. His eyes dropped. I said thank you for the dinner, he replied. You accepted more than dinner. Dad pushed himself higher in the chair. This is my house, and I am your caregiver. You want me to lie while I'm on the clock? Hire somebody cheaper. I said, Tessa, you don't have to do this. Yes, I do. No, she faced me. You think I'm doing it for you, aren't you? I'm doing it because he needs care based on reality. So does Ryan. Dad pointed the remote at the television, though it was already on. I don't need a trial. Tessa came to the table and sat across from him. I remember the first call after I started, she said. You wouldn't take a shower because you said the chair was insulting. Leah asked you whether you planned to stink until she came home. You called her disrespectful. Then you showered. Ryan glanced at me. Tessa continued. I remember the night your blood pressure went up. I held the phone because your left hand wouldn't. The connection kept cutting out. Leah made you tell her the colors of every pill in the organizer because she thought something had been put in the wrong compartment. Dad looked toward the window. She was right, Tessa said. The morning pill was in the evening slot. That could have been anybody, he muttered. It was me. I made the mistake. Tessa let that sit. I remember because she didn't yell. She stayed on the phone while I fixed it. She stayed until the nurse called back. It was after midnight for us. I don't know what time it was for her. 7 a.m, I said. I could see the communications room, gray walls, fluorescent lights, a map curling off a bulletin board. Somebody waiting outside because I had been on the phone too long. Tessa nodded. She'd been working all night. Dad said, that was one call. No, that was one I'm telling you. His good hand tightened around the remote. Tessa's voice stayed level. I remember your wedding anniversary. You woke up thinking Diane was in the hallway. Leah talked to you until you knew she wasn't. I remember the day you refused physical therapy because you fell during the first exercise. Leah made you angry enough to try again. I remember Christmas. I remember the generator behind her. I remember her whispering some nights and shouting on others because the connection was bad. Ryan sat back down. Dad looked at me. You didn't tell her all that was private? She was holding the phone. I had to, Tessa said. You couldn't grip it. His face flushed. Tessa leaned forward. And I remember you telling Leah not to come home. Ryan's head lifted. Dad went still. When? He asked. February, Tessa said, when we were waiting for the nurse. Leah said she could ask for emergency leave if you needed her. You told her not to. You said you were safe. Ryan was staying here, and she had a job to finish. That was different. That's what you said the other night, I told him. Ryan looked between us. You told her not to come back? Dad's voice sharpened. I told her not to throw away her deployment because I had one bad evening. It wasn't one evening, Tessa said. I didn't want her running home every time I had trouble. She offered once, I said. You said no. You should have known I didn't mean never. How? I'm your father. That's not a language. He stared at me. The wrong button on his shirt pulled the fabric sideways over his stomach. His left hand lay curled in his lap. I wanted to fix the button. I wanted to leave it wrong forever. Dad looked at Tessa. You had no business repeating that. You repeated the part where she wasn't here. His mouth opened, then shut. Ryan stood and walked to the counter. He put both hands against it, head lowered. Dad's voice changed. Some of the anger fell out. You sounded so far away, he said to me. I was. I couldn't have you hearing every little thing and deciding I was dying. So, you told me you were fine. I was mostly fine. Tessa? No, Tessa said. Dad glared at her, but weakly. I closed the recipe box. The little wooden roof clicked into place. You asked me to stay, I said. Then you punished me for not coming home. I didn't punish you. What was the toast? He had no answer. Outside, a mower started somewhere down the road. The sound rose and faded behind the trees. Ryan turned around. Why didn't you tell me she offered? He asked Dad. Dad looked at him, then at me. Because, he said slowly, if she came home, it would mean we couldn't handle it. There it was. Not gratitude, not confusion, shame. Tessa stood and picked up the water pitcher. Walk in 5 minutes, she said. Dad stared at the floor. I don't feel like walking. I know. She filled his glass anyway. Dad walked. He complained while Tessa fastened the gate belt. He accused the humidity of personal malice. He said his left knee had already completed its contractual obligations for the day. Tessa ignored all of it. Ryan stood on Dad's weak side. I started to move toward the other. Tessa held up a hand. Ryan has him. Dad looked at me. I could not tell whether he wanted me to argue or was afraid I would. Ryan secured the belt the way Tessa had shown him. Ready? No. Great. They moved through the kitchen. Walker, right foot, left foot. Dad's jaw clenched with every step. Ryan kept one hand near the belt without pulling. He did not rush him. At the front door, Dad stopped. That's enough. The mailbox, Tessa said. I know where it is. Prove it. They went outside. Tessa watched through the screen. He'll be angry with me for a while. You said something he told you in confidence. I did. You don't feel bad? I feel terrible. She kept watching Dad cross the porch. Those aren't opposites, she said. I stood beside her. Ryan moved carefully down the ramp with Dad, matching his steps. From a distance, they looked like the story Dad had told at dinner. Why now? I asked. Because he was doing it again. He's been doing it for months. And you were allowing it. I turned toward her. Tessa finally looked at me. You corrected his pills. You corrected his schedule. You corrected Ryan. You never corrected the story. I told him I called. You said it once and then washed dishes. There were 11 people in the room. There are always 11 people in your head. I laughed without humor. You charge extra for this? No, this part is a hobby. Dad and Ryan reached the mailbox. Ryan opened it and handed him a grocery circular as if it were official correspondence. Tessa's expression softened. You don't have to thank me, she said. I wasn't going to. I know. Outside, Dad turned back toward the house. By the time they reached the porch, sweat darkened Ryan's collar. Dad's face had gone gray with effort. Tessa opened the door but did not praise him. Dad hated praise for things he believed should be ordinary. He passed me without speaking. Ryan helped him into the recliner, raised the footrest, and placed water within reach. Then he followed me into the garage. The cedar chest stood open beneath the window. The damp smell had faded, leaving vinegar and old wood. Ryan closed the door behind us. I didn't know he told you not to come home. I know. I thought you just decided. I did decide, after he asked me to. He paced once between the chest and the mower. He made it sound like you were too busy. He made it sound like you gave up your whole life. I gave up things. I looked at him. He stopped. I did. Then named them. That's not fair. Why? Because you'll turn every answer into a trial. You asked me to teach you. Here's a lesson. If you claim a sacrifice, know what it was. His face reddened. I lost jobs. You told me business was busy. Because what was I supposed to say? That I couldn't keep a crew because I had to leave sites every time Dad called? That I slept here because he fell trying to get into bed 2 nights after you left? I went still. He fell. Onto the mattress. He wasn't hurt. You didn't tell me. You had enough. You don't get to use that line twice. It's still true. He gripped the edge of the workbench. You think I went out every night. I went out some nights. I also cleaned him up when he didn't make it to the bathroom. I changed his sheets. I sat in that ugly chair while he slept because he was scared he'd wake up and his hand wouldn't move at all. The garage seemed to contract around his voice. I didn't do it well, he said. I know that. But don't let Tess make me into somebody who was never here. She didn't. You heard what she said. She said you helped sometimes. Exactly. Was she wrong? Ryan looked away. I touched the swollen seam of the chest. The wood had dried unevenly, one side higher than the other. You did stay, I said. You also let Dad turn that into everything. Ryan nodded once, jaw tight. At dinner, I said, you could have corrected him. I know. You looked humble. I didn't know where to look. You've always known how to look when people clap. That's cheap. It's accurate. He kicked lightly at a bag of grass seed. He needed to believe we could handle it. We, fine. Me. And you needed him to believe it too. He did not answer. From inside, Dad called his name. Ryan closed his eyes. Go, I said. He opened the door, then stopped. I am sorry about the dinner. The apology was too small for the wound and too specific to dismiss. I nodded. He went inside. Dad did not say goodbye when I left. He watched me pick up my mother's letters and the recipe box, then asked Ryan to turn up the television. At my apartment, I placed the letters in the bedroom closet and set the little barn on the kitchen counter. The silence had changed. It no longer felt empty. It felt like someone holding their breath. My phone did not ring that night. It did not ring Friday. Saturday morning, I found myself staring at it while drinking coffee from a paper cup. Dad had spent months calling at odd hours for things that were never emergencies until I was home and no longer available for them. Now that Tessa had named the calls, he had stopped. I bought a table. It came from a thrift store and had one leg shorter than the others. The woman at the register told me the wobble gave it character. I have enough character, I said. Everybody says that until they need a table. I carried it upstairs myself. June met me on the landing and held the door open. You know they sell tables with equal legs, she said. I'm going to fix it. You own tools? Yes. Good ones? Define good. Ones that don't come free with a bookshelf. I had a basic toolkit in my car and nothing appropriate for furniture. I drove to the hardware store where Dad had worked for 26 years. He had been retired for 6, but I still expected to see his red vest behind the service counter. Instead, a woman with a shaved head and tattooed forearms asked whether I needed help. I need hardwood shims and wood glue that isn't lying about drying clear. She considered that. Family project? Unfortunately. She led me toward the lumber aisle. A flyer on the bulletin board advertised an open workshop at a place called Second Shift Woodshop. Beneath a photograph of workbenches, someone had written, Veterans Night Mondays 6-9. Tools, coffee, no motivational speeches. I tore off one of the paper tabs. The woman glanced at it. You a veteran? Still serving. Then they'll let you complain about the coffee. Is it bad? It's free. At the apartment, I leveled the table. It took one shim, 6 minutes, and none of the agitation I had carried into the job. I sat in one of my folding chairs and ate a sandwich over a surface that did not move. Ryan called it too. I answered on the 4th ring. Dad thinks you're mad, he said. Dad knows I'm mad. He thinks you're mad at him. Excellent progress. He won't call you. That's his choice. He says you made it clear calls aren't enough. I looked at the little recipe barn on the counter. I repeated his words. You sharpened them first. What do you want, Ryan? He exhaled. In the background, a mower started and died. I have a commercial estimate Tuesday at 3. No, I haven't asked yet. You want me to cover Dad after Tessa leaves? Just until 5. No, this account could keep Calvin and another guy working through fall. Then arrange care. I'm trying. You're calling the person who said she won't do it. I thought visits twice a week meant you'd sometimes be there. They do. I decide when. This is Tuesday. No. Thursday is my visit. Why Thursday? Because that's what I said. He went quiet. I could hear metal clanging on his end. What if I pay Tess for 2 hours? He asked. Ask Tessa. Do you have her number? You live in the same house 5 afternoons a week and don't have her number? I have the agency number. I gave it to him, he said. You could have just said yes. You could have called her first. You're enjoying this? No. That's the problem. He waited. I rubbed one hand over the repaired edge of the table. Ryan, I don't want you to fail. You seem pretty committed. I want you to stop succeeding because I refuse to let anything drop. The mower started again and settled into a steady engine note. "I'll call Tess," he said. He hung up. On Monday evening, I parked outside second shift wood shop and sat in my car for 9 minutes. The building had once been an auto repair shop. Light poured through the open bay door. Inside, 6 adults stood around separate benches. Nobody wore matching shirts. Nobody appeared eager to thank anyone for their service. My phone buzzed. Ryan had sent a picture of Dad at the mailbox, one hand on the walker, the other holding another grocery circular. Dad says this counts as cardio. I typed, "It counts." Then I turned my phone off and went inside. A woman with long gray braids looked up from a table saw. "You here for the coffee or the trauma?" she asked. "Woodworking." "First night, everybody says woodworking." She held out her hand. "Mo Carter. Air Force, retired. Don't call me ma'am. Leah Mercer. Army Guard. I forgive you." She asked what I wanted to make. I took out my phone, turned it on long enough to find the photograph of my mother's damaged chest, and showed her. Mo studied the swollen bottom seam. Water? Garage? Family? Yes. She handed the phone back. "That'll take patience." "I have patience." "No," she said. "You have discipline. Patience is what happens when discipline stops needing credit." I looked at her. Mo pointed toward an empty workbench. "Bring the chest next Monday," she said. "We'll find out which one you have." Mo did not let me touch a piece of furniture that night. She gave me 2 warped boards and told me to make them square. "They're scrap," I said. "They have feelings. They're wood." "Good. Establish dominance." At the next bench, a man with a navy tattoo was carving a duck that looked deeply offended. Nobody introduced him. A woman in paint-spattered coveralls sanded a cabinet door while singing quietly to herself. Mo watched me measure the first board. "You do everything like somebody's grading you?" "Only graded activities. This is free coffee and power tools. Both can kill you." She considered that. "You may survive." I stayed until 8:30. My boards ended square. Mo inspected them with a machinist's rule, grunted, and handed them back. "What am I supposed to do with these? Know you can make something true after it warps." That sounds like a motivational speech. Damn, don't tell anybody. I turned my phone on in the parking lot. There were no missed calls. That bothered me less than it had the day before. Ryan paid Tessa to stay Tuesday afternoon. He did not ask me how much she charged, which meant he had asked her. At 4:12, he texted a photograph of a drainage ditch with the message, "Got the contract." I wrote, "Good." He responded with a thumbs up. Somewhere between us, an entire argument failed to happen. Dad was at the dining table when I arrived Thursday. Tessa had left at 5. It was 5:16 and his evening pill cup sat beside a glass of water. "You're late," he said. I said I'd come Thursday. "You didn't say when. Then I'm extremely punctual." He looked at the paper bag in my hand. "What's that?" "Dinner. I already ate." I looked at the untouched meal container on the table. "What did you eat?" "Crackers." "Crackers aren't dinner. They were after 5. I set the bag down. I brought chicken. Fried, roasted." He made a face. "Chicken shouldn't be punished for having skin." I unpacked roasted chicken, mashed potatoes, and green beans from a place near my apartment. Dad watched without offering to help, which meant he was still angry. Ordinarily, he would have tried to carry something he could not safely carry just to prove I had arranged it wrong. I put food on his plate. "You check my pills?" he asked. "No." His eyes lifted. "They're sitting beside you. Tessa could have put out the wrong ones, then read the labels. I need my glasses. Where are they? If I knew, I'd have them." I found them on top of his head. He did not laugh when I pointed that out. I sat across from him and ate. After a few bites, he put on the glasses and examined the tablets. "These are right." "Good. You didn't check. You just did. I could have made a mistake." "Yes." He placed both pills on his tongue and drank the whole glass of water. Then he set it down too hard. "You came here to prove a point. I came to have dinner. You used to help." "I'm helping." "No, you're observing." I cut a green bean in half. Does it feel different?" He did not answer. We ate with the television murmuring from the living room. Dad had turned on a game show he claimed to hate but watched every evening. A contestant lost $9,000 by choosing a toaster. "Idiot," Dad said. He wanted the toaster. Nobody wants a $9,000 toaster. You don't know his kitchen. The corner of Dad's mouth moved. Ryan arrived at 6, carrying a folder and a bottle of wine. Mel followed with a bakery box. "Celebration," he announced. "We got the medical office contract." Dad brightened. "That the big one? Fall cleanup, snow, spring maintenance. You don't own a plow." "I lease one." Dad pointed at me. "Your brother's expanding." "I heard." Ryan put the wine on the counter. "You want some?" "I'm driving." "You have half a glass." I said no. He raised both hands, still getting used to the new rules. Mel kissed Dad's cheek and set the bakery box in front of him. "One cookie?" Tessa texted me. Dad looked delighted. "You have her number?" "Everybody has her number except Ryan." "I have it now," Ryan said. Mel sat beside me. "How's the apartment?" "Level." "That's a low standard. You didn't see the first one." Ryan poured wine for himself and Mel. He opened his folder and spread the contract beside Dad's plate. Dad took off his glasses, cleaned them on his shirt, then read the first page as if he had been invited onto the board. Ryan talked through the work schedule. He needed 2 crews at the medical complex starting Saturday. One would clear overgrown beds. The other would repair a drainage trench before rain came Sunday. "Mel can stay with you Saturday morning," he told Dad. Mel stopped with her glass halfway to her mouth. Ryan kept talking. "I'll be back by 2. "No," she said. He looked at her. "No what?" "No, I can't stay Saturday. You're off. I work until 2 Friday morning. You sleep until 9. I need 10 to 2. Mel set down the glass. "You did not ask me. I'm asking now. You told him I would." Dad looked between them. "I don't need a babysitter." "Caregiver," Ryan and I said together. Dad glared at both of us. Ryan leaned toward Mel. "It's 4 hours. He'll watch television. Then why does somebody have to be here? In case he needs the bathroom or anything. That sounds like care." "I know what it sounds like." "Do you?" Ryan sat back. Mel's voice stayed calm. "I like Frank. I bring him cookies. I answer his calls when you're stuck at work. I am not the empty square in your schedule because Leah stopped filling it." Nobody looked at me. Dad said, "Family helps family." Mel turned to him. "Am I family?" Dad opened his mouth. She waited. He glanced at Ryan. Mel nodded. "That's what I thought." "That isn't fair," Ryan said. "No. Fair would have been asking me before you volunteered my Saturday. I thought you'd want to help." "I do help. You only count help when it solves the problem you have right now. That one belonged to more than Ryan." He closed the contract folder. "I'll move the crew start. You'll lose half a day," Dad said. "I'll lose half a day." I looked at Ryan. He did not look at me. Mel picked up her wine again. "Thank you." The tension did not disappear, but it changed shape. We ate cookies around it. Later, while Ryan walked Mel to her car, Dad said, "You enjoyed that?" "No. You didn't defend him. He didn't need defending. He needs that contract. Then he'll figure out Saturday." Dad looked toward the front window. He already gave up a lot. I set the dinner containers in the refrigerator. "Tessa told you what happened," I said. "You heard Ryan admit what happened. Why do you need him to be the only person who sacrificed?" Dad's face hardened. "I never said only." "You made a toast. You're going to bring that up forever?" "I don't know." "How long are you planning to defend it?" Ryan returned before Dad could answer. "I left at 8. Dad let me get to the door before asking whether I would be back Sunday. "No, Thursday." "What if I want to see you before Thursday? Call me." He stared at the remote in his lap. I waited. "Drive safe," he said. Saturday morning, Ryan started his crew at 2 in the afternoon. Rain came early Sunday. The drainage trench filled before they finished, and Calvin spent half the night pumping it out. Ryan told me none of this. Mel did. She called Monday while I was leaving work from a reintegration meeting that had consisted mostly of signatures and a video about stress. "He's furious with you," she said. "Ryan, gravity, weather, clocks. You're fourth." "Why are you telling me?" "Because he won't. I'm not going to fix the trench." "I know. Are you going to fix Ryan?" She laughed. "No. I'm trying your system. I don't have a system. You moved out and everybody started learning words like boundary, careful, we'll make shirts." Mel went quiet. "He does care about your dad," she said. "I know. He's just been using you as the emergency exit." "I know that too. And Frank was rude to me. He likes you." "That was him liking me? He offered you family guilt. Should I send a thank you card?" I smiled. At 5:30, I drove to Dad's house to collect the cedar chest. Ryan had already moved his mower so I could reach it. The bottom seam was dry but badly separated. Dad stood in the garage doorway with his walker. "Where are you taking it?" "A wood shop." "You found somebody?" "I found tools." "You know what you're doing?" "Not yet." He looked at the faint heart carved into the lid. "Don't sand that out. The initials aren't yours." "I know. Who are J and M? No idea. Your mother liked them. Why?" She said whoever they were had made it long enough to ruin a piece of furniture. I ran my thumb over the crooked heart. Ryan came out carrying 2 moving blankets. Together we wrapped the chest and loaded it into my car. "Need help getting it inside?" he asked. "I'll have help." Dad's gaze shifted. Not suspicion. Something smaller and sadder. I closed the hatch. At second shift, Mo and the offended duck carver helped me lift the chest onto a workbench. His name was Dale. He looked inside and said, "Good cedar." Mo examined the bottom seam. "You want it perfect?" she asked. "I want it like it was." "It won't be." I hated her immediately for being right. "What can we do? Remove the damaged base, save the sideboards, cut a new bottom, match the stain, stabilize the lid. The mildew? Surface. Mostly." "Mostly." She pointed to the swollen corner. "Wood remembers water." I looked at the chest. Mo nudged a pair of safety glasses toward me. "Doesn't mean it stays ruined." My phone vibrated against the bench. "Dad." I answered. "Are you okay?" "Yes." "Is Ryan there?" "He's outside." "What do you need?" A pause. "Nothing," he said. I wanted to know if the heart was still there. I touched the carved initials. "It's here." "Good." Another pause. "You coming Thursday?" "Yes, all right." He hung up. Mo waited until I set down the phone. "Emergency?" she asked. "No." Sounded important. I put on the glasses. It was. We removed the damaged bottom that night. Mo made me work slowly. The old nails had rusted into the cedar, and every time I tried to pull one straight, the softened wood threatened to split. "Don't fight the nail," she said. "It's a nail. It's winning." I changed the angle of the pry bar. The nail eased out with a long squeak. Dale looked up from his duck. "Interrogation successful?" The nail cooperated. They always do when they know you have pliers. By 9, the chest had no bottom. It looked exposed and strangely lighter, 4 walls holding the shape of what used to be there. Mo measured the opening twice. "New base next week," she said. "I can come Wednesday. This is Veterans Night. I can come when you're open." "You have a job?" "I go back Monday." "Family?" "Scheduled. Then Monday." I began sweeping cedar dust from beneath the bench. "You rush everything?" she asked. "I finish things. Same question." I drove home with the chest still at second shift. The empty back of my car made me uneasy. I kept checking the mirror as though I had forgotten to secure something. Dad called Tuesday at 7:16 in the morning. "What time do you go to work?" "Next Monday." "I thought you were already working." I stopped by. "Why?" "To move a pallet." He accepted that more easily than Dana had. In the background, I heard a spoon scrape a bowl. "You eating oatmeal?" I asked. "Tessa made it. It's 7:16. She comes at 8. Silence. "Dad." "Ryan made it." "Ryan is awake? He has to be at a condominium property by 8. Is the oatmeal edible?" No. I smiled into my coffee. Dad said, he put cinnamon in. You like cinnamon. He used cumin. I stopped smiling. How? Both start with C. Throw it out. I'm not wasting food. You are not eating cumin oatmeal. It improves if you don't smell it. I heard Ryan in the background. It does not. Dad lowered his voice. Your brother can't cook. I've met him. He tried. The two words came carefully, like Dad was setting down a glass near the edge of a table. Yes, I said. He did. Dad cleared his throat. Thursday. You still coming? Yes. He hung up without saying goodbye. Thursday, he asked about Kuwait. Not the temperature or whether we had separate sleeping quarters. He asked what time my shift ended and how long I usually waited before calling him. We sat on the porch after dinner. Ryan was inside arguing with a supplier. The soybean field across the road moved under a hot wind. Depended on the day, I said. You called in the morning. Your morning. What was it for you? Usually late afternoon or early evening. Sometimes morning if I was coming off nights. You called after working all night? Sometimes. Why didn't you say? What would it have changed? He pushed his walker an inch away, then pulled it back. You always sounded awake. I'm good at sounding awake. That a military thing? That's a woman thing. He snorted. A truck passed, rattling an empty trailer. Dad watched it disappear around the bend. You could have told me you were tired. You could have told me you were scared. He rubbed his right thumb against the walker grip. I wasn't scared, okay? I was concerned, very masculine, deeply. We sat there until mosquitoes found us. He did not apologize. I did not ask him to. At work Monday, Mateo had reorganized my office too. He had moved the printer away from the filing cabinet and replaced my whiteboard with a larger one. Half the operations staff had new shift assignments. A pallet tracking system I had argued for was running on every dock tablet. Dana waited until I had put down my bag. You can move the printer back, she said. It's better there, I know. Why didn't we put it there before? You said it needed to be near the cabinet. I was wrong. Dana removed her red glasses. Deployment has transformed you. Don't spread it around. The warehouse had continued without me, not perfectly. 2 inventory counts were late, and somebody had started storing packing tape in 3 separate locations, like it was being hidden from an invading army. But Mateo had solved problems I had expected to return and solve myself. At 10, he brought me a stack of status reports. You want the whole handoff? He asked. Yes. It's 46 pages. Summary first. His shoulders lowered. I noticed. You thought I'd take everything back, I said. You're operations manager. You've been acting manager, Dana said through Friday. What do you want after Friday? He looked surprised by the question. We spent an hour dividing responsibilities. Mateo kept the new floor system and the morning loading meetings. I took vendor shortages and the cold storage backlog. He knew more about the changes than I did, and after the 3rd time I reached for an answer he already had. I stopped reaching. At lunch, Dana sat across from me in the break room. You look uncomfortable, she said. I'm eating yogurt. Mateo doesn't need you as much as you hoped. I did not hope that. You moved an empty pallet on leave. It was blocking an exit stripe. I'm sure it had sinister intentions. I peeled the foil from the yogurt lid. Dana leaned back. Competence is not the same as being indispensable. I know. Knowing is adorable. I hated when strangers agreed with my family in better sentences. The 30 days ended on a Wednesday. We met at Dad's dining table after Tessa finished his afternoon walk. Ryan arrived 10 minutes late with grass stains on his knees and the spiral notebook in his back pocket. Dad wore a clean shirt with every button in the correct hole. Tessa had written out the hours Frank still needed someone present. She did not dramatize it. She listed meals, bathroom safety, exercise, and the fact that he sometimes tried to carry things while using a walker. Dad crossed out sometimes. Tessa wrote frequently. I can be here Monday and Wednesday afternoons, Ryan said. Friday most weeks. Most isn't a schedule, I said. I have rain delays, so choose 2 days you can protect. No day is protected in landscaping. Tessa tapped Thursday. Leah visits Thursdays. Dad looked at me. I visit, I said. I'm not promising a fixed care shift. What's the difference if you're here? Ryan asked. The difference is I can leave. Dad's mouth tightened. Tessa stepped in before he could speak. Frank needs less hands-on help than he did in December. He can be alone for short periods if he has eaten, the walker is positioned, and his phone is on him. Not 4 hours. Not yet. How short? Dad asked. An hour. I've been alone longer. That is information, not evidence. Ryan looked at the cost Tessa had written beside 2 afternoon shifts. I can cover that, he said. Dad shook his head. We split it. You don't have to. I said we split it. They looked at each other. The amount would hurt both of them without ruining either. That mattered. A boundary that destroyed the people on the other side was just a different kind of control. Tuesday and Friday with Tessa, Ryan said. I cover Monday and Wednesday. Leah visits Thursday. I'm sitting here, Dad said. Then approve it, I told him. He examined the paper. What about weekends? Ryan said. I'm here nights and weekends unless I tell you otherwise. Tell me, Dad said. Not Leah. Ryan nodded. Dad picked up the pen and wrote, "Okay" across the bottom in large block letters, as if authorizing a road project. Nobody applauded. I took my name off the automatic afternoon payments before I left. The next week was quiet enough to feel suspicious. Ryan sent fewer questions. When he did ask something, it was specific. Left ankle puffy after walk, no dent, elevating. Anything else? I wrote, recheck in an hour. Dad called me once to complain that Ryan had bought low-sodium soup. It tastes like the can was frightened by a chicken, he said. Add pepper. Tessa says no extra salt. Then add resentment. Already did. At second shift, Mo and I fitted a new cedar base inside the chest. She made me plane the edges by hand until the board settled without force. You can't order it into fitting, she said. Watch me. I am. It's taking longer. Dale's duck had acquired wings and looked no happier. On Thursday, I arrived at Dad's house to find Ryan on the front porch, phone pressed to his ear. I told you I was at a medical appointment, he said. No, not mine. My father's. Dad sat inside with his walker, fully dressed and furious. A folded paper from the physical therapist lay on the table. Ryan listened, then closed his eyes. I understand, he said. I can have a crew there Monday. A voice crackled from the phone. Yes, I understand. He ended the call. What happened? I asked. Nothing. Dad said, the Henderson condominiums canceled. Ryan shot him a look. Why? I asked. They wanted a walkthrough Tuesday. I moved it because Dad's therapist rescheduled. You could have asked me, Dad said. To do what? Stay home. You had therapy. I've had therapy before. Ryan shoved the phone into his pocket. They've been looking for a reason to replace us. This gave them one. Dad's face changed. That account mattered? It was 12% of our maintenance work. You told me it was small. It is small. 12% isn't small. Ryan bent to pick up the therapy paper, missed it with his first grab, and slapped his palm against the table. I couldn't be in two places. The room went still. Dad looked at him. Ryan straightened slowly. I didn't mean, yes, you did, Dad said. I meant the schedule. You meant me. No. Dad pushed his walker away. Put that back, Ryan said. I don't need it 6 inches from my knees. You do when you stand. I'm not standing. Ryan moved it within reach. Dad kicked one rubber foot with his slipper, sending it sideways. Stop arranging me, he said. His voice was low and steady. All of you. Stop making your jobs and your money and your time about what I can't do. No one answered. Dad looked at me, but the anger belonged to all of us. I was alone before your mother died, he said. I know how to be alone now. He did not. The frightening part was that he had decided to prove it. I moved the walker back in front of him. Dad kicked it again. Stop. It needs to be in reach. I said, stop arranging me. And Tessa said, I don't care what Tessa said. Ryan picked up the therapy paper and folded it too many times. Nobody's blaming you for the account. You just said you couldn't be in two places. I was angry. You were honest. I can be both. Dad looked at me. You happy now? No. This is what you wanted. Everybody knowing exactly what I cost. I wanted you to know what other people were doing. I know. Ryan misses work. You paid money. Tessa stays late. Paula makes bad spaghetti. Her dip is worse. Nobody laughed. Dad pushed himself deeper into the recliner. Get out, Ryan said. Dad, both of you. Go do all these important things I'm keeping you from. You're not being fair, Ryan said. That appears to be a family condition. I took my purse from the table. Ryan looked at me. You're leaving? He asked us to. You don't always have to follow orders. That's an interesting argument from you. Dad turned up the television. At the front door, I stopped. Being alone isn't the same as being abandoned, I said. But if you make it dangerous to help you, people will eventually believe you. He kept his eyes on the screen. I left. Ryan stayed another 40 minutes. I knew because he called from his truck after dark. He says he doesn't want me sleeping there tonight. What did you say? I live there. Strong opening. He told me to sleep at Mel's. Are you? No. I heard his truck door open. He won't use the walker, Ryan said. He keeps parking it across the room. Put it back. He moves it. Then put it back again. What if he tells me to leave? Decide whether you're his son or his employee. That doesn't answer the question. No. He breathed into the phone. Was he like this on the calls? He asked. Yes. How did you make him do anything? I didn't. I made refusing more annoying than doing it. That's your gift. Thank you. Wasn't a compliment. Still counts. Friday, Tessa called during my lunch break. Your father refused his walk, she said. Did you tell him the mailbox missed him? I threatened to bring the mail to him and describe the weather badly. Nothing. He did his chair exercises. That's something. He's angry at his body. The rest of us are available targets. I moved away from the break room door as a forklift passed. What do you need from me? I'm not calling because I need something. Then why are you calling? People can do that. I leaned against the wall. Tessa said Ryan asked whether Frank can be alone tomorrow morning. How long? He said an hour. That means 2. I told him 1 after breakfast with his phone attached to him and the walker within reach. Did Dad agree? Enthusiastically. That sounds bad. He said, finally, somebody recognizes I'm an adult. That sounds worse. You can't prevent it, Leah. I didn't say I was going to. You got quiet in a preventive way. I watched Mateo redirect a forklift away from a blocked aisle before I could signal. I have plans tomorrow, I said. What plans? I need a nightstand. That's not a plan. It is when the lamp is on the floor. Tessa laughed. Buy a nightstand, she said. Your brother has my instructions. Saturday, I found one at an estate sale 6 blocks from the apartment. It was solid oak, ugly in a committed way, and heavy enough that June came outside to watch me unload it. You need help? She called from the porch. No. Good. My back hurts. I had one end out of the trunk when my phone rang. Ryan. I let the nightstand rest against the bumper and answered. He did not say hello. Dad fell. Everything in me went still. Did you call 911? I called you. Call 911. He's awake. He says he's fine, but he can't get up. Call 911. What do I do while... Ryan, hang up and call. Unlock the front door. Don't move him. Keep him still and stay beside him. He's in the bathroom. Is he bleeding? I don't see any. He hit his shoulder. Maybe his head. I don't know. Then stop guessing and call. Dad's voice came faintly through the phone. Don't make a production. Ryan said. He doesn't want an ambulance. Put me on speaker. A rustle. Dad, you fell and can't stand up. You need to be checked. I pulled something. Maybe. The paramedics can decide. You come over. No. Ryan is there. Ryan made a sound like I had struck him. I kept my voice even. He's going to call 911. He's going to stay with you. I'll meet you at the hospital. Leah, call now." I ended the call. My hands shook once, hard enough that the Ohio key rattled against the phone. Then they stopped. I pushed the nightstand back into the trunk and drove. The ambulance reached Dad's house before I did. Its lights flashed against the blue apple wallpaper through the kitchen window. Ryan stood on the front lawn with both hands on his head. "What are you doing out here?" I asked. "They made me move, then move to the porch." He followed me. Through the open door, I could hear Dad arguing with a paramedic. I didn't black out. "We still need to check your head, sir. My head's been checked by professionals and family. Opinions vary." Ryan pressed his palms together. "I was gone 2.5 hours, he said. "You told Tessa one." The mower threw a belt at the medical office. Calvin needed the truck. I called Dad. "What did he say?" "That he was fine." "Did you tell him you'd be late?" "Yes." "Did he have his phone?" "It was beside the chair." "Where was the walker?" "Beside the chair." Dad had left both to go to the bathroom. Ryan's voice broke. "I shouldn't have left." "No." He looked at me, expecting the rest. "There wasn't any." "You're supposed to say I couldn't have known," he said. "You knew he wasn't safe alone that long." He turned away and wiped his face with both hands. The paramedics brought Dad out in a portable chair because the stretcher would not fit through the hallway. He looked furious, frightened, and very small beneath a yellow blanket. He saw me. "I told you not to make a production. This is barely community theater." One paramedic laughed. Dad did not. At the hospital, Ryan carried the blue folder under one arm and his spiral notebook in his back pocket. He answered the nurse's questions before I could. "Stroke 10 months ago, left side weakness, blood thinner, blood pressure medication, cholesterol medication, no insulin, no known allergies." The nurse looked at Dad. "That correct?" "Yes," Dad said. Ryan took out the notebook. "Last pills at 7 this morning. Blood pressure was 138/82 before breakfast." I watched him. He noticed. "What?" "Nothing. That's your inspector face. I don't have a clipboard. Yet." Dad closed his eyes. "If you two are going to flirt, I want a different room." "We're related," Ryan said. "I had a head injury. What's your excuse?" The scan showed no bleeding. The x-rays showed no fracture. Dad had a badly bruised hip, a strained shoulder, and enough pain that his already weak left leg refused to cooperate. A physical therapist asked him to stand with a hospital walker. He made it halfway up before his knee folded. Ryan caught the gait belt with the therapist. Dad sat back hard. "I'm tired," he said. The therapist nodded. "I know. I can do it after I rest. We'll try again." She did not praise him or argue. Tessa would have approved. A physician recommended keeping him overnight for observation and having rehabilitation evaluate him in the morning. Dad objected to every noun. "I'm not going back to rehab. You can't get out of bed safely," the physician said. "I have people at home." The words settled over all three of us. Ryan stared at the floor. I said, "We'll listen to the evaluation." Dad snapped, "Who's we?" "You, mostly." The physician left before Dad could ask her to reconsider. Ryan sat in the vinyl chair beside the bed. His landscaping polo was streaked with black grease from the mower belt. A smear crossed his forehead. His phone buzzed repeatedly. He turned it face down. "You should answer," Dad said. "No, it's probably Calvin." "I know. You have work. I'm here." Dad looked toward the window. The room was on the 3rd floor, facing the parking garage. Nothing outside moved except a plastic bag caught against a concrete divider. After a while, Ryan went to find coffee. Dad watched the door close behind him. "He called you first," he said. "I know." He panicked. "Yes, you didn't. I had practice." His face tightened. I pulled the chair closer but did not touch him. "You were right," he said. "About what?" "I shouldn't have been alone. I didn't want to be right about that. You always want to be right, not when the proof is you on a bathroom floor." Dad picked at the edge of the hospital blanket. "I thought I could make it." "I know. I had to go. I know. I wasn't proving anything. That was a lie, but it was covering something worse than pride. I know, I said. He looked at me then. If you suppose this proves my point, I said, it doesn't. What point? That helping you has to erase me, or Ryan. That somebody has to disappear so you can feel independent. His eyes moved away. You left when I told you to, he said. Yes, you didn't come back. You asked me not to. That isn't what I meant. I can only respond to what you say. He rubbed his thumb against the blanket, the same motion he made against the walker grip. What did you want? He asked. The question sounded almost angry. I wanted to be your daughter, I said, not your entire plan. Ryan returned with 2 coffees and a packet of peanut butter crackers. He handed 1 coffee to me, sat beside the bed, and opened his notebook. Dad watched him turn to a clean page. What are you writing? He asked. Ryan clicked his pen. What happened? He said. So we stopped telling it wrong. Ryan wrote down the time of the fall, where Dad's phone had been, where the walker had been, and how long he had been gone. Dad watched him. You gonna put down that I was in the bathroom? You were. I don't need my bathroom habits preserved for history. Ryan kept writing. Then stop making history in the bathroom. Dad looked at me. He gets that from you. No, I said. Mine's better. Ryan stayed overnight. The hospital brought in a reclining chair that did not fully recline. He slept in it with his mouth open and 1 work boot still on. At 4 a.m, a nurse took Dad's blood pressure. Ryan woke before the cuff finished inflating. I went home. That decision required more effort than staying would have. Staying was familiar. Staying meant I could watch every medication, hear every update, make every person repeat instructions until nothing was uncertain. Instead, I left the blue medical folder with Ryan and drove to my apartment. I slept 4 hours, showered, and went to work. Dana found me checking a shipment discrepancy at 7:30. Your father is in the hospital, she said. He's stable. How do I know that? I texted you. You sent, family issue resolved enough. In at 7. That means stable. It means you write messages like a ransom negotiator. She put her red glasses on. Go back. My brother is there. Does your brother know you're allowing that? I didn't authorize him. Growth. I looked down at the inventory sheet. Dana's expression softened. You can leave if you need to. I know. That was different from being expected to. At 10, Ryan called from the rehabilitation hallway. They want to keep him for 10 days, he said. Maybe longer. He's furious. I assumed. They made him walk 6 feet. He called it a biased evaluation because the floor was slippery. Was it? No. What do you need? There was a pause. His clothes, the gray sweatpants, t-shirts, underwear, the shoes with the Velcro. Where are you? At the house. You went home? I'm packing. I closed my eyes and pictured him upstairs in my old bedroom, opening drawers that had never belonged to him. His clothes are in the downstairs dresser, I said. I know. Then why are you calling? Because he wants the red sweatshirt and I can't find it. Hall closet. Behind the towels? Everything is behind the towels. He hung up. Mateo appeared in my doorway holding a tablet. Cold storage count is off by 14 cases, he said. Ordinarily, I would have followed him downstairs before he finished the sentence. Who counted? Priya and James. Have them count again without seeing the first number. Check Bay 4 for a misplaced pallet. You coming? No. Tell me what you find. He waited half a second, then nodded. At lunch, Ryan sent a photograph of Dad in a wheelchair wearing the red sweatshirt. Dad held a sign somebody had printed that said, "Welcome to rehab." His expression suggested he was considering escape. The caption read, "Prisoner transferred." I wrote, "Secure facility?" Ryan replied, "He has already located 2 exits. For the first 3 days, Dad called only when he wanted something. Bring my electric razor. Tell Ryan the gray socks itch. Ask them why mashed potatoes have skin. Each time, I redirected him. Tell Ryan yourself. He's working. Leave him a message. You know where the razor is. So does he. You're making this difficult. No, I'm making it direct. On the fourth day, he called and did not ask for anything. A game show played in the background. They have the toaster idiot on again, he said. Rerun. Apparently he wanted the toaster twice. Commitment. I walked 20 feet. I sat back in my desk chair. How was it? Long. That isn't a medical term. It is from inside my legs. Did you use the walker? No, I levitated. You'd complain about the altitude. Dad was quiet. Then he said, Ryan came this morning. Good. He brought the wrong razor. Did it work? Yes. Then it was a razor. It has 3 heads. I don't trust anything with 3 heads. You survived. Barely. He did not mention the dinner, the fall, or the calls. He also did not ask me to solve anything. We talked for 9 minutes. Ryan's business did not collapse while Dad was in rehabilitation. It bent. Calvin took over the medical office job. Ryan gave him the white truck and spent mornings at work, afternoons at rehab, or arranging the house for Dad's return. The Henderson account was gone. 2 smaller clients complained. Ryan missed a Friday dinner with Mel because the rehabilitation center asked for a family training session. Mel did not cover for him. She attended the training because he asked. The distinction appeared to matter to both of them. I met them in Dad's room afterward. Ryan was practicing with the gait belt. Mel sat in the window chair eating a cookie from the bakery box. Did you bring enough for everyone? Dad asked. No, she said. I admire honesty. It's your best quality. Ryan adjusted the belt around Dad's waist. Too tight, Dad said. It's supposed to be snug. You're cutting me in half. That would reduce fall risk. Mel pointed at Ryan. That one was funny. I've been training. Dad stood using the walker. Ryan stayed on his left side without dragging him upward. They crossed the room, turned, and returned to the bed. Ryan unfastened the belt. The therapist nodded. Good, Dad said. He pulled. I did not. He thought about it. That's genetic, I said. Dad looked at me, and the corners of his eyes creased. Tessa visited on Sunday. She came as herself, wearing jeans and a yellow blouse instead of scrubs. Dad seemed unsettled by the change. You look unemployed, he told her. I came to see whether you behave badly without paying me. And consistent results. She sat beside his bed for half an hour. When she left, Dad asked me whether she had lost wages by visiting. No. How do you know? I asked. He considered that. Tell her thank you. Tell her yourself. He called after her before she reached the elevator. At second shift, the new base settled into the chest so closely that Mo made me remove it and fit it again. Why? I asked. To make sure the first time wasn't luck. It wasn't. Then enjoy being right twice. We glued the base and clamped the walls. The swollen corner could not be made invisible without removing too much original cedar. Mo showed me how to stabilize it and sand the edge smooth enough that it would not catch. There'll be a line, I said. There's already a line. I can stain it darker. You can. Then there'll be a dark line. Dale held up his finished duck. It still looked offended, but now with dignity. Scars add value, he said. Your duck has no scars. It's emotionally complex. We kept the repair visible. I polished the brass hinges, cleaned the carved heart, and rubbed oil into the lid until J+M appeared beneath my hand. The chest was not the way it had been. It opened. It closed. It held weight. On Dad's 9th day in rehabilitation, he asked me to bring it. The chest? You finished it? How do you know? Ryan showed me a picture. It won't fit in your room. There's a family lounge. You want me to bring a cedar chest into a medical facility. They have elevators. I called Ryan. He said I'll help. We brought it Sunday morning. Dale had loaned me a small furniture dolly which squeaked every 6 feet. The receptionist watched us roll the chest through the lobby and asked whether we were moving Dad in permanently. He's particular about storage, Ryan said. Dad waited in the family lounge in his wheelchair. He had dressed in navy pants and a pale blue shirt. Every button was right. When he saw the chest, his face folded in a way I had never seen. Ryan stopped pushing the dolly. You okay? He asked. Dad nodded without speaking. We set the chest against the wall beneath a window. I lifted the lid. Inside were my mother's letters, the dry quilts, her winter scarves, the blue-flowered tablecloth, and the recipe barn Ryan had repaired. I had left the photographs at my apartment until I could buy proper storage boxes. Dad touched the new bottom. Not the same wood. No. Looks good. The corner still shows. Your mother would say, turn that side toward the wall. Ryan laughed. Dad lifted the tablecloth. Paula's going to steal this. She hates it. She wants whatever Diane had. He picked up the recipe box and ran his thumb over the roof. You fix this, he said to Ryan. Leah supervised. I mocked. That too. Dad looked at the two of us. Give me a minute with your sister. Ryan's face changed. I said, You don't have to leave. Yes, he does, Dad said. Ryan gave me a questioning look. I nodded. He went to find coffee. Dad waited until the lounge door closed. I remember the calls, he said. I sat in the chair beside him. All of them? I asked. Enough. He lifted one of Mom's scarves, a green wool one with loose fringe. I remember you calling when Tessa put that pill in the wrong box. I remember you calling Christmas. I remember you telling me to use the shower chair. You told me it was built by communists. It was too low. You're tall. I was vulnerable. You were naked. Same thing at my age. I smiled despite myself. Dad folded the scarf over his knee. I asked you to stay there, he said. Yes. I was proud of you for staying. I did not help him. He stared at the scarf. Then Ryan started telling people what he was giving up. Work. Mel. His own place, though he'd already lost the lease. He told you? I knew. That surprised me. Dad sighed. He needed to feel like a good son. He could have tried being one. He was trying. Badly. And I didn't need to feel like a good daughter? You already were. The words hurt more than if he had denied it. Dad looked at me. You were strong enough to hear something unfair and keep standing. Ryan wasn't. Strength is not permission. I know. No, you know now because I stopped. He nodded. I could hear a cart rolling through the hallway. Somewhere, a machine chimed 3 times. Dad's fingers tightened around the green scarf. I asked you to stay, he said. Then I made staying sound like leaving. I let everybody thank him while you sat there. Yes. I'm sorry. He did not add but. He did not explain the beer, the stroke, or the room full of people. The apology had nowhere to hide. I touched the repaired corner of the chest. I believe you're sorry, I said. Dad waited. That isn't the same as it being fixed. His eyes dropped. I know, he said. For once, he did not ask how long fixing would take. Ryan returned carrying 3 coffees and stopped when he saw Dad holding Mom's scarf. Should I go away again? No, Dad said. Sit down. Ryan handed me a coffee, then took the chair across from us. He looked at the open chest. You tell her? Yes. Ryan nodded. He did not ask what I had said. Dad folded the scarf more carefully than necessary. I owe you an apology, too. That's probably true. I let you think staying in the house was the same as handling everything. Ryan's expression changed. I did handle things. Some things. You weren't exactly easy. I remained challenging. You were impossible. Dad nodded. And your sister made it possible for you to pretend you had it covered. Ryan rubbed his palms against his jeans. This feels less like an apology. I praised you instead of asking more from you. That wasn't good for either of us. Ryan looked at me. I drank my coffee. After a moment, he said, I shouldn't have let you make that toast. No, Dad said, you shouldn't have. I was talking to Leah. I made the toast, and I sat there. Dad opened his mouth, then seemed to recognize that the apology was not his to improve. Ryan leaned forward, elbows on his knees. I'm sorry, Leah. Not just that it sounded bad. I'm sorry I knew it was wrong and let everybody clap anyway. Thank you. He waited for more. There wasn't more yet. Dad put Mom's scarf back inside the chest. Take this to your apartment. I looked at him. The chest? It was in your room. It was Mom's. So are you. That sentence doesn't work. It worked enough. He ran his fingertips along the repaired seam. Put it somewhere dry, he said. I had planned to. And don't stack things on it. I know how furniture works. You slept on gravel. That wasn't storage. Ryan stood and took hold of the dolly. Before this becomes a seminar, I'm moving it. We rolled the chest back through the rehabilitation lobby. Dad watched from the lounge doorway until the elevator closed. At my apartment, it fit beneath the bedroom window. The repaired corner faced into the room. I left it that way. Dad came home 3 days later. He used the walker from the rehabilitation van to the front porch without complaining until his wheels caught on the threshold. This was built wrong, he announced. You've lived here 31 years, Ryan said. It's been wrong the whole time. Tessa waited inside wearing yellow sun scrubs. Dad's face brightened before he remembered he was annoyed with her. You're back on payroll, he said. Your power has gone to your head. My head was cleared by a scan. Your head was declared uninjured. That is not the same as clear. She checked the placement of his chair, the walker, and the phone lanyard the rehabilitation therapist had given him. Dad called the lanyard humiliating. Tessa clipped it to his shirt. You fell because your phone was across the room. I fell because my leg failed. 2 problems can exist together. Ryan brought in the red sweatshirt and the blue medical folder. He put his spiral notebook on the kitchen counter. I carried nothing. That felt strange enough that I checked my hands twice. The new schedule held. Not perfectly. Ryan arrived late one Monday because a trailer tire blew. Tessa stayed 20 minutes, billed him, and left when he walked in. Dad ate soup for dinner one Wednesday because Ryan burned pork chops. On a Friday afternoon, Dad called me to say Tessa was making him reorganize the medicine cabinet. Are you asking me to intervene? I asked. No, I want a witness. You have rights. Name one. You can remain silent. Then she wins. Tessa called from the background. I already won. Dad hung up on me. Ryan and Dad split Tessa's 2 paid afternoons. Ryan covered Monday and Wednesday himself and protected those hours with the same stubbornness he once reserved for estimates. When a client asked him to move a walkthrough into Wednesday afternoon, he offered Thursday morning instead. The client hired somebody else. Ryan complained for 2 days, then stopped. He gave Calvin authority to handle crew problems without waiting for permission. Calvin demanded a raise. Ryan gave him less than he asked for and more than Ryan had planned. The medical office contract survived the rain, the broken mower belt, and Ryan's repeated discovery that drainage followed physics instead of optimism. The Henderson condominiums did not come back. For a while, Dad kept apologizing for that account in sideways ways. He tried to pay for truck repairs. Ryan refused. He offered to sit in the office upstairs while Ryan worked, as though occupying a chair beside the printer counted as supervision. Ryan refused that too. Then one afternoon, I arrived for my Thursday visit and found my old bedroom empty. Not empty exactly. A bed stood against the wall covered with a plain blue quilt. My mother's sewing basket had returned to the closet shelf. Ryan's monitors, invoices, polos, and boots were gone. I found him in the garage installing steel cabinets on a raised wooden platform. He had replaced the leaking door seal. "Dad make you do this?" I asked. He was prepared to. "You don't need to clear the room for me. I have an apartment." "I know." He drove a screw into the cabinet bracket. "Mel told me I couldn't move the office to her place," he said. "Without you asking?" "She's become proactive. Good for her. She says you're a bad influence. Also good for her." He checked the cabinet with a level. The bubble sat slightly left of center. I pointed. "I see it." "Do you? Go visit Dad." I went inside. Dad was in his recliner with the walker directly in front of him. His phone hung from the lanyard around his neck. "Your room's ready," he said. "For what?" "If you stay. I'm not moving back. I didn't ask you to." "You returned the bed. You need somewhere to sleep if there's weather. I live 12 minutes away. Snow alters time. June has a shovel." He frowned. "Who's June?" "My landlord." "You discuss me with your landlord?" "No. We discuss snow removal ethics." Dad looked toward the hallway. The room should have been there when you got home. Yes, I can't change that. No. He picked up the remote, then put it down. You want to play cards? He asked. We played gin rummy at the dining table. He cheated by placing his discard too close to his hand and claiming he had not released it. I let him win the first game. He knew. Don't do that again, he said. I won the next 3. His balance improved in increments too small to photograph. The walker became a 4-pronged cane inside the house. The first time he used it to reach the mailbox, Ryan walked beside him, without touching. Tessa waited on the porch. I stood behind the screen door with Dad's phone in my hand because he had refused the lanyard for the picture. At the mailbox, he lifted the lid and found nothing. All that for an empty box, he called. Cardio, Ryan called back. Dad raised one finger without turning around. Tessa glanced at me. He's healing. Which finger did the therapist recommend? The functional one. At second shift, I started building a low table from the cedar we had left after repairing the chest. Mo refused to call it scrap. Wood with a prior assignment, she said. Dale began carving an owl. It looked suspicious. My phone stayed on the bench during workshop nights. Sometimes Dad called. If it was not urgent, I called him back after 9. He learned to begin conversations without presenting a problem. He asked whether my warehouse had fixed the cold storage backlog. He told me Ryan had used cumin and chili on purpose and been banned from the spice cabinet. He asked about the carved heart. Once he said, "Your mother would like that you kept the old marks. She might ask who J and M were. She'd make up a story." What kind? Better than the truth. At work, Mateo kept the morning loading meetings permanently. I stopped attending unless he asked. The first week, I hovered near the windows overlooking the floor. By the third, I could hear a forklift alarm without standing up. Dana noticed. "You've become tolerable," she said. "Deployment transformed me." I heard. She still let me fix the tape storage problem. Tessa and I began having coffee that did not involve Dad's blood pressure. The first time, we made it 11 minutes before discussing him. "That counts as growth," she said. "For who?" "Me." I almost asked whether he took his pills. Did he? Tessa stared at me over her cup. 12 minutes next time, I said. When the soybean field across from Dad's house turned gold, he announced he wanted to have dinner. "Here?" Ryan asked. "I live here. How many people?" Not 11. It ended up being 7. Dad, Ryan, Mel, Tessa, Aunt Paula, Uncle Dennis, and me. Calvin was invited but claimed an urgent relationship with a leaf blower. Ryan roasted chicken. He left the skin on for Dad and made a separate piece without cumin for everyone else. Paula brought the terrible dip deliberately. "I improved it," she said. "You added cheese," Tessa said. "Cheese is improvement." Dad used his cane to come to the table. Ryan started to pull out his chair, then waited. Dad positioned himself, lowered carefully, and nodded when he was settled. Nobody applauded. My mother's blue-flowered tablecloth covered the table. Ryan had asked before taking it from the cedar chest, the embroidery still puckered where Mom had pulled the thread too tight. Dinner moved through ordinary topics: weather, the medical office contract, Paula's church committee, whether Mel's bar should stop serving a drink called the electric possum. "It glows," Mel said. "That is not reassurance," I told her. Uncle Dennis asked Dad how rehabilitation had gone. "Expensive," Dad said. "You're walking." "I walked before." "You complained less before," Paula said. "Stroke improved my range." Dennis nodded toward Ryan. "Good thing this one stayed with you through all of it." Ryan's fork stopped. The sentence did not wound me the way it had at the welcome home dinner. It landed in a place that had scarred instead of stayed open. I looked at Dad. He was looking at Ryan. Ryan set down his fork. "Dennis." Dad lifted one hand. "No," he said. "That's not the story." The table went quiet. Paula looked at me, then at Tessa. Dad rested his right hand beside his plate. His left hand lay curled in his lap, no longer hidden beneath the table. "Ryan slept here," he said. "Some nights." Mel coughed into her napkin. Ryan accepted that. "Tessa cared for me because it was her job," Dad continued. Then she kept caring after her hours because Leah arranged it. Dennis shifted in his chair. Dad looked at me. Leah called every day. She handled the medicines, the appointments, and me. Mostly me. You were the difficult part, Tessa said. I remain challenging. That is not in dispute. Dad's eyes stayed on mine. I told her not to come home, he said. Then I acted like she chose not to. That was wrong. No speech followed. No one reached for a glass. Ryan said, "She carried more than I did." Dad nodded. She carried me home every night by phone. Across the table, Tessa met my eyes. She remembered the fluorescent room, the bad connection, the blue pill in the wrong compartment, the anniversary, the generator, and all the things my father had asked me not to see. So did he. Aunt Paula touched the edge of the blue flowered tablecloth. "Leah, I'm sorry." I nodded. Dad reached for the terrible dip. His left hand moved halfway, stalled, then continued. Ryan did not grab the bowl. He waited until Dad looked at him. "Pass it," Dad said. Ryan passed it. Dad put one spoonful on his plate. "Still terrible," he told Paula. She beamed. The conversation restarted around us, uneven at first and then ordinary. Dennis asked about snowplows. Mel defended the electric possum. Tessa argued that cheese had limits. Nobody thanked me again. They didn't need to. I took a bite of chicken while it was still warm and let the truth remain where my father had finally put it.